PSGL is brought to you by Sim Racing Setups. Get your pro setups, unlock extra performance with the Pro F1 25 car setups created by the drivers in PSGL. Esports and stable setups for every track, quali, race and wet setups, optimal race strategies, free meta setup updates, as well as created by drivers racing in PSGL, pro support and compatible with Xbox, PlayStation and PC. All setups just $49.99. Get them from simracingsetup.com and use code PSGL for a 5% discount. See you on track. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me.
Down the inside,
absolutely impossible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We got our elbows out.
Ronar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion. Well, hello and good evening. Welcome back to PSGL PCF1. We are back for yet more action ahead of round 11. We head to the Albert Park circuit, home also of the Supercars Championship that supports Formula One during Australian Grand Prix weekend, and it has offered us two fantastic races in the past, most notably Season 27, where Jarno Opmeer, current championship leader, went from the back in the final few laps to the front. Well, not to the front, P3 I should say, but it was a podium and a cracking 1-2. Will we see yet more superior driving? Will we see more outrageous moments? We'll find out shortly, I am sure. My name is George Morgan, your commentator. Joining me once again, it's Tom Knight. Welcome back, Tom.
Good as always to be back, George. And what a circuit we've got in front of us today. 2 times before we've raced here. Will third time be the charm?
You never know. Obviously, for Barry Burraman, it has been one hellacious run for him. 2 wins at Australia historically around this fabled track. He needs a big result as well tonight, TK. It hasn't been an easy season for him.
No, and I think it's one that he'll reflect on as we head into, the more traditional LAN events in the future, but he's got to take it as learning curves. He's got to take it as learning moments because, at the end of the day, if you have bad performances, you've got to take something from it or it is just a bad performance.
Yeah, absolutely right. I'll just quickly show you as well the track that we are heading to tonight. Not Sao Paulo, incidentally. That is, in fact, not the track we are heading to, but we are heading to Albert Park instead, which you can now see as it's now updated on your screen. You can just see we've thoroughfared our way through from Jeddah. But here we are, 14 turns around this circuit. Opened back on the 20th November 1953, 71 years ago now. Actually closed 66 years ago, though, 1958. Wasn't open long, it has to be said, around 5 years and 10 days between opening and closing, but it was then reopened many years later. We're talking 7th of March 1996, 29 years ago now, and it also cemented itself as the opening round in the initial phases of its reopening in the Formula One opening round of the championship. From that period in time. Of course, the season where Jacques Villeneuve would go on to win the world title. And now it looks like we're going to be seeing it back on the very front of the calendar as well for the foreseeable future. In the meantime as well, we can just quickly discuss the driver's standings. Of course, it is Jarno Opmeer on top of the tree. 108 points and ahead of Freddie Rasmussen at the moment. 95 points going Rasmussen's way so far. Red Bull have been in complete control, though I will say that the last round didn't really coat them in glory, TK. Largely, it went to the betterment of Nicolas Longuet. Brilliant first win of the season, and also his second podium of the campaign.
Yeah, and I think a race that he'll be long in his memory for a good amount of time. It's dragged him up the standings as well, closer towards that top end. He's got Zilderham and Lawrence just close in front, actually quite literally 1 point between himself and Ulas. So well and truly in contention for some good points in the championship.
Yeah, which is really extraordinary. Obviously, Rasmussen with more wins than Nicholas, than Jarno Opmeer, of course. 4 wins going Rasmussen's way, Jarno only with 2. But Jarno Opmeer currently holding a 13-point lead at the top of the championship ahead of his teammate at the moment. Further down, of course, Ulas Ozdildirim having a brilliant season, but also has, by and large, has had his reputation questioned, TK, with some of the driving we saw last time at Brazil.
I think it's one of those situations where it's not necessarily been his proudest standing. We obviously have been there once before, so there is a direct comparison, and it's quite rare that we get that opportunity, especially within a season, to go, look what happened in the first instance, and actually that's not what we saw in the second. But I'm sure, again, it'll go back to those team reps, it'll be discussed internally, and we probably will see a better performance out here today.
Yeah, no question about that. Obviously, we'll move through and discuss more about the drivers very soon, but here's how the team standings look. 203 points going Red Bull's way. They are ahead of Ferrari by nearly a whole 100-point gap. It is really enlarged. Obviously, maybe a slight dent has been put in place off the back of our last round at Brazil. Elsewhere, Alpine, who you would have thought would have had a stronger season, TK, but those errors have punished them from the likes of Zandvoort, where they suffered the double penalty for both drivers, I should say, penalties for both drivers at Zandvoort due to the pit lane infringement.
Again, it's one of those situations that I think is so easily preventable that they'll be looking back and potentially kicking themselves, because it is such a simple thing that you need to get right. It's well ingrained in the sporting code and regulations that you have to get that car slowed down and stopped before you cross that entry marker. So it's definitely preventable. It'll be a learning curve going forwards, but they'll look at this championship and go, what could have been if we've seen slightly further forward.
Yeah, obviously Aston Martin enjoying the win from Nicolas Longuet last time out, places them 2 points away from Kick Sauber now. Could be a tight contest come the end of the season. We'll wait and see, obviously, when that rolls around. Just a quick reminder to the season's grid. Obviously, we like to remind you of this each and every time we go live. Otis Lawrence, Danny Berishney at Alpine, Duncan Hofflin, Nicolas Longuet at Aston Martin, Barry Burman, Ishmael Fassi at Ferrari, Reece Linton, Joris Krozen at Haas, Thomas Ronhard, Julian Klaffenbach at Kick Sauber, Alvaro Caraton and Williams, with Ruben Pedreño, Tom Manley and Ulas Ozdildirim at Visa Cash Up RB. Then we have Jarno Opmeer, Freddie Rasmussen at Red Bull. Then Istvan Pukki, Lucas Blakely with a Mercedes team that are largely struggling this season. Only 4 points for that team, and they sit rooted to the bottom of the championship. Alfie Butcher and Jake Benham together at McLaren. But here's tonight's grid, and we have got one change to bring you. And stepping in place of last time out's race winner Nicolas Longuet, it's Angelo D'Ortenzio, the F2 champion, PSGL PC F2 champion, to be precise, with 4 wins and 6 podiums, 7 pole positions, taking him 24 points clear of Jan Halliday en route to taking the title, and makes his debut appearance in PSGL PC F1. An exciting night for the new driver, TK.
Absolutely, and what a talent they've got coming in form of D'Ortenzio. Has absolutely blown through the rafters of PCF3 and F2 as well, and now stands for an opportunity to really implement himself in this ecosystem that we have.
Yeah, obviously now, folks, we can direct your attention over to our track of the night. We are, of course, live at Australia. Obviously, not a lot of activity going on at the moment. All the cars inside the pit lane, still early days. As you all know, I am sure. A few drivers going out relatively early on intermediate tyres, but no times have actually properly been listed as of yet. But I'm sure we will be seeing them take to the track very shortly. But in the meantime, we're restarted, are we?
Well, apparently so, because we've and this is going to sound slightly crazy. The session time is on realistic instead of midday, so the drivers are being told they want to restart.
Okay, well there we are. That puts a bit of a non-starter on things, so we will be going back and refreshing again, folks. We'll bring back a new lobby very shortly. Of course, it'd be rude for us not to talk about our fantastic new partners, of course, Sim Racing Setups. Great to have them all on board as well at the same time. Be sure to get yours. You saw the promo at the top of the show. Be sure to check them out. And if you haven't done so already, folks, also an important thing to talk about is the socials. Make sure you check out PSGL, Premier Sim GL on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We've got it across the board. And once again, we're not live on TikTok tonight because we haven't rectified the recent, I'm not going to say ban, I'm not sure what caused it, to be honest with you, but we're no longer able to stream on TikTok, but I'm sure it'll be rectified in the not too distant future. In the meantime, you're watching us live on YouTube or Twitch. Great to have you guys here. Many people are saying, I say many people, playing with Victoria saying hashtag blame TK. I'm not sure whether that's true, TK.
Technically and technically not. I never saw the change to midday. I was of the understanding that it was always meant to be unrealistic. Although I've just seen when Connor made the announcement to go to midday, he's pinged the drivers and the team reps, but not ourselves.
Oh,
so we weren't aware.
Okay, so we're blaming Big C now.
I'm blaming Connor.
Yeah, we're blaming Connor. So Connor, it's your fault, my friend. Obviously, #blame Connor in the live chat. And swiftly after that, both me and TK will no longer be commentating PSGL PCF1 for the foreseeable future. Let's talk a little bit about, obviously the calendar as well, TK, because obviously we've got a vibrant one. We've got quite a few we've got a few exciting rounds left to take us through to the end of the championship. Mexico, Vegas, Abu Dhabi come up after Australia. It's been a thrilling one, I have to say. Some really fantastic quality tracks. And it all leans on the grand finale on Bonfire Night, November 5th, where the fireworks will be going off in a bid to crown a champion. Abu Dhabi, round 14 TK. We've got some spicy tracks left.
We absolutely do. I mean, if you look at the likes of Mexico, Vegas, 2 tracks that really start to incite racing. I think there was some fantastic, earlier in the season. It's been one long season. I don't want to sound too cliche with this, but it's been one long season that has been just excellent racing from start to finish. Yeah,
it has been phenomenal. And obviously, just to allude to some of the stats as well, folks, Jarno Watmir, a 2-time race winner this season. 7 podiums have taken him to the top of the championship. And as we said, 13 points clear of Freddie Rasmussen. He's going to look to close out the title now over the next successive 4 rounds that we have, including Australia tonight. Of course, it'll be 3 after Australia. Mexico City could be a very important one, as will this one. I mean, if Jarno can bring back some of the magic dust that he pulled together for season 27's P3 result, you never know. It could lead to a victory this time. And I would hazard to say, because obviously the last race that we had back at Brazil, TK, it's not necessarily a track where Jarno Watmir would admit that he'll perform well at. I mean, historically, it hasn't been a great track for the Flying Dutchman. And I must say, to back that up, that last result is worst so far of the season. But a lot of it exacerbated off the back of the poor qualifying that he had as well.
Yeah, I think we've seen this from a few drivers where their race performance and what they see from the day-to-day hasn't reflected the way they've introduced themselves to qualifying. Obviously, you'll have some drivers that are so on it in that single lap pace, they can go pretty much as fast as they possibly want to. But then when it comes to that almost endurance aspect of the race, they seem to somewhat fall short.
Yeah, they certainly do. Obviously, falling short means you will fall short. You will not score the points necessary. But the good thing for Jarno Watmir is he already had a buffer prior to that Brazil round. And obviously coming off the back of 3 or 4, I should say, successive podiums, of course, China, Spa, Jeddah, Qatar. 2 of them being race wins in his first of the season as well. Largely a decent start to Freddie Rasmussen's campaign. TK went 4 in a row in terms of race wins. Texas, Silverstone, Zandvoort and Suzuka. The wheels have fallen off a little bit though in recent races.
They certainly have, and I think again we're seeing that mental element come into play. I think first of all the drivers are asking for you to click spectate in the game because I think they're waiting on it. But
I did it really quick then, fastest lap.
Yeah. just hop on, do a lap, and then retire. I think that's all it takes. But we're seeing that mental element in terms of endurance and like slogging through the calendar, where we're so many races into a season that they've had to put in so much time, so much effort, and so much practice that actually it's not burnout, because I think that's the wrong word for it. But we're seeing where drivers have that aptitude to be able to come back week in, week out, race to 110%. and still put on a smile and still go again next week.
I mean, and you hear about some of the hours that are spent on the game as well by some of these drivers as well, TK. I mean, it's quite frankly frightening when you look at it, because you think, my goodness me, there is a clear reason as to why they are so good. Many of the drivers as well, or some of them at the very least, still competing and have been since 2017 when the very first F1 Sim Racing World Championship was unveiled. Of course, that had the grand finale at Abu Dhabi that led to Brendan Lee taking the title. Of course, we're slowly seeing a lot of those numbers drift away, though, especially now with Brendan Lee's retirement as well, Tom.
I think that was very unexpected, but it also shows the almost the effort required. It's not just you turn up, you race at this fantastic LAN event that is put on by F1 Sim Racing. It's the time that you actually don't see when the drivers are in their rigs, their bedrooms, the opportunities to spend time with their team, because it is long grueling hours to make sure that every corner is absolutely perfect, because you can't just rock up, hope for the best and go, you know what, 5th place will do for us here, lads. Let's walk away and be happy.
Yeah, I mean, you can't settle for second best. You know, these drivers are perfectionists. You know, they keep running the same laps, time in, time out. They prepare intensely. Now, of course, many of them will admit, I mean, Barry Burman very, I must say, eloquently described how, okay, you're not going to see the absolute best. Thomas Ronhaar said this as well in an interview we had with him earlier on in the season. I think it was after Jeddah, in fact. You know, we were discussing about how, you know, time in, time out, league racing is treated as a data capture exercise. So they'll use this to obviously try out different things, try out different data. We've seen a lot of that from Sauber as well, haven't we? They're not necessarily performing up at the top, but they're taking decisions that seem to be more about perhaps learning the greater intricacies of the sim and the game.
Yeah, and it's something we saw quite evidently last week in Brazil, because we were almost discussing this point that we were expecting drivers and expecting teams to approach it from a perspective of data collection and what can we figure out from Brazil that we haven't figured out the first time around back at the first round of the season. And I think most notably was Ronhaar when he pit on those changeover conditions. You know, no one was expecting him to pit there. No one was expecting it to even work in the slightest. But they've taken that data and gone, right, how much do the tyres gain every lap on that crossover period? Because if it came to sim racing and it does rain and we have that crossover period, they will have so much knowledge in the back bank to be able to try and make a good call or a good prediction, which could be the difference between a podium and a win.
Yeah, largely could be. Obviously, like we said, finer details, everybody. Just a shrewd reminder to everybody, of course, tuning in and watching around the globe. We are in the multiplayer car for qualifying only. If you remember, the drivers put a vote down, obviously concerned about the lack of equal performance between the cars that we use, or the real-life cars that we tend to use for both qualifying and racing. The drivers and the engineers clubbed together, they grouped together, had a discussion, a vote was laid out. I would say pretty much it was unanimous, many of them wanting to move to the multiplayer car for qualifying, obviously just to, you know, counteract, you know, even the finer possible differences between each of the cars, because whilst, of course, Formula One in real life is based on realistic performance, when it comes down to sim racing, we treat it largely differently. Everyone's in the same car, and there were some concerns, obviously, just due to the ergonomics of the cars themselves, that it was going to fraternize and cause issues in terms of the overall pace of each individual car. So there is a few discrepancies there the drivers were worried about. But don't worry, because when we come to race time, TK, we're back in the real-life cars.
We certainly are, and we get to see those beautiful liveries in the Australian sun, or so we hope, because of course the weather is on dynamic, and we have known it on occasion to rain in Australia.
Yeah, well there we go, as we now watch Reece Linton make his way around this next right-hander. The question marks around rain, that's a very apt discussion to have here, TK, because it is possible. And I'm looking on my percentages at the moment. There's nothing that really stands out at the moment. 22% at this stage chance of rain. I don't think we're going to see anything, certainly nothing on our radar anyway. But important to note that the track temperature is currently sat at 30, not far away from optimal, and the air temperature currently stacked at 21 degrees, so not exactly the highest that we would expect. It is a little bit cloudy out there. Freddie Rasmussen currently out on an out lap and spinning as the rear tyres get onto the grass, and obviously exacerbated with the use of the intermediate rubber. He won't worry too much about that, but he won't be able to do that on, well, he won't want to do that when he moves on to slick tyres.
No, and it's sort of that intermission period now where they'll go on those intermediates, just get a feel for how the track's doing. It is about 30 degrees, but considerably overcast in what we are used to, the sun bearing down on this circuit, which does, let's just say, accelerate the heat into the circuit. It's only 21 degrees in the air, though, so there is a big differential between air temperature and track temperature. Yeah,
just to sort of register a comment from Alexis Le Bien Hero. Apologies if I butchered your surname, sir. Part of the explanation is North Europe are great for indoor activities due to climate and long nights. True, you know. Also, back to Jay Tal in the chat, who says the cars are equal in performance. It's how the car handles that's very different. Yes, that's true, but it's due to the ergonomics, the differences in how the parts are produced, because the parts on the real cars are different. You know, they are manufactured in-house by each and every single team. Some of them buy from other teams, of course, but there are differences in the ergonomics of how the car is built. So This is the problem the drivers are facing. So it's not equal in performance in that aspect, if you get what I mean, which is what the argument is amongst the drivers. So there is a problem with equal performance in that sense. So that's what the drivers are conferring about. Obviously, it's only minute if there's anything, but then again, the drivers want to ensure that everything is as straight as possible in terms of how they perform, hence why we've got the multiplayer car in qualifying only. We will move to the real-life cars when we go into racing, so sit tight, everybody. Still no movements in terms of slick tyres so far, though I will say this, Ismail Fassi, the only one embracing intermediate tyres on our live timing at the moment. We've still got plenty of time until the session comes to an end. 13 minutes and 9 to go, and not a single time registered on to the board. Other drivers that have performed well this campaign, TK, we've got to give a huge shout out as well to Alvaro Carreton. Podium for what looks to be the second time this season after his P3 at Texas. Williams are showing glimpses of old potential from last year.
Yeah, and very mirroring the aspirations they had, I think, at sim racing. You look at Carreton, you look at Fassi before his move to Ferrari. Williams were a solid unit in terms of race pace and qualifying pace, and I think if they hadn't have had that driver switch, certainly one that could have taken them through to I'm all for it. Many podiums, potentially even a couple of race wins here and there. But you've also got to talk about Pedreño stepping in, who by and large is still a fantastic driver.
Yeah, he has really progressed, actually, I think, in recent times. Obviously, he's had his fair share of teams that he has raced for, has found home at Williams. Obviously, an all-Spanish affair in terms of the two drivers currently nestled together. Even with Javi Guerra gone, they've maintained that mentality. Of course, if you're wondering where Javi Guerra has gone since his time at Williams, managing the Williams esports team, he has found home. Now, get this, obviously, some of you might not follow junior single-seater racing, but Thibaut Courtois, of course, Real Madrid goalkeeper, since forming Thibaut Racing, or Thibaut Motorsport, obviously now that are taking part in the F4 Championships. Javi Guerra very much involved with that now. Obviously, Thibaut Courtois, part of the Spanish giants, Real Madrid, and representing the world of motorsport now with his very own team, bringing Javi Guerra in, who was, of course, a very, should we say, a very high figure in terms of Williams and their sim racing profile, and of course now since departing they've had to almost find a new identity, but they've still got two Spanish talents. Alvaro Carreton, who's been there since the world of sim racing really kicked off for Williams in the F1 scene. It was Carreton who, of course, was one of the very first drivers they signed, still with them to this day, and one of the longest running servants, much like Freddie Rasmussen at Red Bull as well. 2 podiums taken by Carreton so far this season. Pedreño also needs to be highlighted as another fantastic talent who's also had a podium this campaign. More brilliant stuff to come, I think, from Williams, I think, in the not too distant future. And you've got to give him credit as well, largely behind the growth of Ismail Fassi, Tom.
Oh, almost certainly. If you look at the performances that he's had leading up to what was the tail end of last season, the start of this season, he will have been nurtured somewhat by that Williams environment and been able to grow and develop as a driver, and then obviously made that, I want to say, a breaking headline move, essentially, to Ferrari at the start of the season. And I think it'll be certainly one that will be talked about for many, many months to come, because he is a fantastic driver. He's got a fantastic new team around him. But you will always remember who was that growth, that nurturing at the start of their career.
Yeah, Mason Olney, TK and George, do you think they'll ever fix the turn 4 bump at Bahrain or on Bahrain? Well, it hasn't been fixed as of the latest update, so I'm not sure about that, to be quite honest with you. Of course, we were due to race there last time, TK. Instead, we went to Brazil.
We certainly did, and my official comment on whether it'll be fixed is probably nuh-uh.
Yeah, probably not at all, folks. It's not the priority. We'd much rather have some fascinating new liveries that no one wants to use. That's the basis of how that's operating. We've got some comments as well coming in from official Demo saying, "Let's go, Ronha. Give us a wave, Tom," says Ethan Devaney. Do you want to give him a wave, Tom?
You can wait till the intermission.
Okay.
You've got to make your audience yearn for something.
Goodness me. Well, we have got some activity now brewing inside the pit lane. Few drivers now moving out onto the track, and we've got to say a big hello and warm welcome to Angelo D'Ortenzio. We've mentioned his incredible feat winning the PSGL PCF2 Championship, managing to launch himself to the front ahead of Jan Halliday. Brilliant result from Angelo, and coming in as the now reigning F2 champion, newly crowned F2 champion. Tonight's a big night for him here, TK, because he can put himself on the market to any team. Of course, he is part of the Ferrari team at the moment as a young driver, not part of the main roster in terms of their F1 sim racing offering, but if he puts on a good show here tonight, it puts him front and centre for not only Ferrari, but any other team that could offer him a main seat or a full-time drive.
Yeah, it's a very rare instance that you get an opportunity like this so close to the end of a season that is essentially an open invitation. You've gone, here's a car, we want you to drive it, but also you're going to have the 9 other teams kind of sniffing around, watching, being intrigued by what this young talent has to offer. And I think there will be all eyes on Angelo D'Ortenzio here this afternoon, because especially, he's already caught attention coming up through the ranks through F3, F2, and now today is quite literally the biggest audition that I think many drivers will find in their career.
Yeah, we're going to keep an eye on him, because he's now making his way through the final few corners before he begins a flying lap. Every single driver has now made their way out onto the circuit. 7 minutes and 40 to go. Time for potentially a couple of laps here to be registered onto the board. And Angelo D'Ortenzio in his first start in PSGL PCF1 now makes his way down through towards turn 1 here at the Albert Park circuit, as now he flies through turn 2 and down through towards turn 3, where he'll then look to hook his way around the very technical section in sector 1 and really priming that braking point as well. Now swiftly moving around the next left-hander of turn 4 and now down through turn 5, where in the distance he'll see sector 2 at turn 6 and 7, where the chicane sits and operates, flying through, taking all of the curb on the escape. Very soon he'll meet the next DRS zone coming out of turn 8, hustling down through to the fast left and right on exit of sector 2 into sector 3 at turns 9 and 10. We'll see a lot of overtaking here at this point as well, and also in the second half after the chicane, as now they fly through this segment. Now you've got to be so careful not to invalidate to that chicane. So easy to run wide as well and get collected on the curb and then move onto the gravel. Just nips at the grass as well on the left-hand side, using all of the racetrack here, Angelo D'Ortenzio, and now flying through turn 11 at the same time. He's got a stranded car there on the left-hand side. That's a outlap now being performed by another car out on circuit, but here comes Angelo D'Ortenzio around the final bend at turn 14 in his first hot lap here in PSGL PCF1, and he'll register onto the board a 1:14.603. Not a bad place to start, TK.
No, very competitive runs actually, and Jules Ilserim couldn't match him, neither can Duncan Hoffland, so this is immediately looking up for the young man. He has set incredible sector times, not far off the likes of the top runners so far. It's Van Pookie, though, has been able to top him, only though by, what is that, about 200ths of a second, not much in it.
Yeah, not much in it at all, and of course Mercedes have had no end of troubles. Pookie now sending them to the top now by 17 thousandths of a second. Here comes Pedreño, who went purple briefly in the middle sector. Lost it, unfortunately. Thomas Ronhaar, currently purple inside the first sector, is registered as 16.882 as well in the middle, as Otis Lawrence goes fastest with a 1:14.459. Fine margins up at the top. Buremans now, former pole sitter, back at season 32 and 33 at this circuit, goes fastest, now displaced by his own teammate Ismail Fassi. Here comes Thomas Ronhaar, second fastest for him. Not a bad time at all, already so close up at the very top, but a whole 10th plus now between Fassi and Ronhaar as we close out the first laps here in qualifying.
Keep an eye on Freddie Rasmussen coming up towards the line. He's always one that could be tipped for provisional pole position, although up to 5th place. His teammate Jan Otmir invalidated on his first run, so a couple of maybe mistakes creeping in for the Red Bull Sim Racing team. Yeah,
not great at all. Also invalidating was Jake Benham at the same time, and unfortunately for him, he's going to have a reset and think about, well, trying to enlist one last chance around this Melbourne circuit. Of course, we're coming down to the final few minutes. 4 minutes and 35 on the clock as we speak, but bear in mind the drivers have got to come into the pits, either stick a fresh set of tyres on or go out on or go out on the same tyres in a bid to try and put in a decent enough lap to move through into Q2. Just a little reminder for those of you who are not familiar with how the qualifying system works. Remember, the top 15 move through to Q2. Top 10 then in Q2 move into Q3 for the shootout. And that's when pole is decided in Q3. And we'll find that out in the not too distant future as Jake Benham comes into the box. Jarno Otmir will be joining him as well. It is so vital for both of them to register a fast lap in this last venture out on circuit, because if they don't TK, there'll be an early elimination for the two former Mercedes teammates.
Well, let's not forget as well, Jarno Opmeer, last time out in Brazil, actually went out in 17th place in qualifying, couldn't find enough to make it out of Q1, and he really will not want to make this 2 Q1 exits in a row.
No, he won't, and largely we said this actually prior to us coming into the session. That was the worst performance of the season from Jarno Opmeer. Still managed to come away with points, but again, his worst points haul of the campaign so far, finishing with 3 points brought home after 8th place at Brazil. So we'll have to go again then eventually as Freddie Rasmussen parks up just outside the pit lane. Get your predictions in the live chat, folks. Want to hear from you. Who do you think is going to be barreling out of qualifying here at Q1? Remember, the bottom 5 will be eliminated as it stands. That includes Ruben Pedreño, Reese Linton, Duncan Hoffland, Jake Benham and Jarno Opmeer. The bottom 2, admittedly, because they have not set in place a single lap time just yet. 3 retirements from this session already. Thomas Ronhard, Barry Burman and Otis Lawrence feeling confident enough that they're going to go through. They've ended their session early. Angelo D'Ortenzio on his first start TK looking well enough at home. 8th place in the initial laps.
Looking very, very comfortable, and I have a feeling there's probably more for the young man to find around this circuit, because you saw just, I think it was almost minor overcorrections, just trying to make sure the lap was perfect, and you've got to find that smooth run. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Fashy bowing out in the next few moments. Of course, right at the top, he's got 4 now retired behind him, almost enough for guaranteed safety, and there we go.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think that if Thomas Ronhard, Burman and Lawrence see fit to bring an end to their session, bear in mind, Fassi is a whole 10th higher than Ronhard in terms of the deltas, so if they're okay, he is more than okay.
Yeah, and there goes Freddie Rasmussen as well. So top 6 now, all deciding to throw in the towel, at least for the opening Q1. 2 minutes left on the qualifying clock, and as fairly expected, almost everyone else out on an outlap, bar Jarno Opmeer, who's just making his way out the pits, and will be the last to start.
Well, let's just say this. Track temperature currently sat at 30 degrees, 21 degrees in the air, so it has advanced a little bit in terms of air temperature, only by 1 degree so far. Ulas Yildirim is currently the furthest around the track on an outlap so far, so he'll be the first to lay down a fast run. As we now watch him make his way through the final few corners, has faced a lot of scrutiny over his recent driving activities on circuit, but no one can question his brilliant win at China earlier on in the campaign after taking pole position, and now he sets in place his final lap here in Q1.
Yeah, lots of opportunities here to try and jump up, and they'll just be looking for survival. It's not necessarily about setting the fastest time, it's just guaranteeing your way through to the next qualifying.
Yeah, heading down towards turn 3, keeping it pinned to the inside. Obviously, Ulas now looking for yet more time to build upon the 1:14.614 that he's already enlisted. He's 100th up ahead of Alfie Butcher, who's currently down in 10th at the moment. Any little bit of delta matters. We know how fine the margins are where it comes to PSGL, especially in the PC F1 Championship, but it's like that, of course, in various divisions that we have here in this series. Jake Benham and Jarno Opmeer looking to bring in some big laps to end the Q1 session. We'll keep our eyes on the purple sectors as they come through, and I can tell you that Ulas has found purple in the middle sector. Invalidation so far for Josh Edo, though, and as I'm looking at it, is that an invalidation for Jake Benham, TK?
No, I think he's still running around. I think he's just started his lap. I think that's the timing screen just showing his outlap being invalidated, so he is good to go, although getting incredibly slidey on the exit of turn 4 there, running a little bit too deep into the corner.
Yeah, one thing we can say is Josh Edo has invalidated. It's going to be P4 for Ulas Yildirim. We do have Duncan Hoffland with a big lap on the board. Purple in the first sector here from the Dutchman. Not running it out too far. It showed on our timing screen briefly that there was a Jake Benham invalidation, but it looked like it was just a glitch on the timing screen. In fact, Jake has managed to muster in 2 decent sectors so far, as now we watch as Hoffland makes his way down through towards the start-finish line, looking to bring in a decent lap, and will move to 10th fastest. Could yet move through to the next stage of qualifying. Next up as well, coming through and improving, is Julian Klaffenbach. Jarno Opmeer also with improvements at the same time. As now we await them to come through the final sectors. Here comes Klaffenbach now. Ido can't improve enough. He remains right on the bubble. He might be out here. Angelo D'Ortenzio also. Jake Benham enough for 13th. Joris Krozen up into 13th this time as well. We await Klaffenbach to now cross the line. We're going to see a thoroughfare of cars now moving their way across said line now. Klaffenbach is out of the session. Ido's out as well. Jarno Opmeer about to make his way up towards the line. Linton's gone 9th fastest. Butcher in 10th. Opmeer is out. 19th fastest, and a poor lap from the Flying Dutchman.
I was watching him all the way through his lap. He just never seemed to get comfortable, especially through that third sector. He was bouncing around left to right, couldn't seem to keep the car under control. And I'm not quite sure what happened from it. I know he doesn't mind starting from the back because he'll work his way through. But can we talk for a moment? Angelo D'Ortenzio, second fastest overall.
Yeah, that is an extraordinary lap to close out the first session from Angelo D'Ortenzio. Showed real promise after the first laps initially, and has found second fastest, 89 thousandths away from Ismail Fassi. Technically, it's Ferrari 1 and 2 if we factor in where Angelo races. Of course, he is signed to Ferrari as a junior. But it's Ismail Fassi fastest with a 1:14.348, 89 thousandths quicker than Angelo D'Ortenzio. Thomas Ronhaar, third place, then Barry Burman, fourth. Ulas Azildrim, then Danny Berejne, Otis Lawrence, Freddie Rasmussen, Reese Linton, Alfie Butcher, Tom Manley, Alvaro Caraton, Hoffland, Pookie Krozen. We lose Benham, Ido, Klaffenbach, Opmeer, and Pedreño. Some shock departures, and Jake Benham also not moving through as well. Just dropped into that drop zone right at the very last minute. We talk about the margins of success and failure, and it is simply that fine, isn't it, TK? Just those fine margins that can cost you everything. And bear in mind, Jarno Opmeer, by and large, just over 3 tenths away from Ismail Fassi's fastest time there. That goes to show how close this grid really is. I mean, if we want to factor in as well Pedreño, who didn't set a lap, it was nearly 3.5 tenths. That covered the entire 20-car classification.
Yeah, 3.3 tenths from top to bottom is incredibly close margins all amongst this field. And to go out, I think, in the first time of asking, it's something you will certainly have to take a step back, have a consolidation with your team, figure out what quite went wrong. Because especially here, when the grid is so competitive, there'll be questions that have to be answered about what quite went wrong. How are we going to fix this for the race going forwards?
Well, this now handles an opportunity, an olive branch, does it not, TK, to every other driver that is occupying spots close to the championship, in terms of top of the championship. And you're looking to Barry Burman now, aren't you, by and large? I mean, to respond to this, because third in the championship race, twice a winner here before. I mean, it could be a magical number 3 tonight if he brings his very best.
Yeah, you've got to look at it, and, you know, has a 100% win record from when we've come here in the past in PCF1. We'll certainly be looking for 3 from 3. You've also got to look at the likes of Freddie Rasmussen, who now has an opportunity to start considerably higher than his teammate. Not for the first time, because, of course, remember last week at Brazil, it was a very similar story that we saw. So those two drivers, I think, will be the ones to watch, especially if they make it through to Q3, because I think at this moment in time, nothing is guaranteed in qualifying.
No, Burman lost a winner this season back at Jeddah, and that was where it last happened for him. In terms of podiums, he's taken 4 already this season. A pole sitter once before as well. That was back at Silverstone, round 3, and would love to return with his second victory of the season here at Melbourne. It'll be his 3rd time a winner at this circuit as well. 3 in successive visits here in PCF1. Of course, the very first round at Australia was season 27, the very first campaign we had in PCF1 here at PSGL. As now we watch Danny Berejne on his return back as well with Alpine. And like we said before, Alpine also looking to turn the tides in their favour after what has been largely a disappointing season from probably what they would have preferred or expected to happen based on the pace of both he and Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, I think, again, it's been that situation where in the race they've had unlucky incidents, haven't had the best form through, but in qualifying, they certainly have been the team to reckon with. They've got numerous poles under their belt, and they've got to find that way to convert it, to make it through to the end of the race.
Yeah, well, we run on board now with Danny Berejne. Ismail Fassi, purple inside the middle sector so far. We've already had an invalidation here with Duncan Hoffland as well, so not a great start for him, but at the moment Ulas Azilder in purple inside the middle. But it's not all lost for Alpine just yet. Berejne looking to pull together a decent lap to kick them off here at the start of Q2. Some of them may be on the used tyres from our previous session as well to save a set. Berejnay with a 1:15.7, certainly not the fastest that we have seen. His teammate though, Otis Lawrence, might be able to pull something special off as Tom Manley goes briefly quickest. Ishmael Fassi now fastest, as now we await more to cross the line. Otis still purple. Fassi ahead of Alfie Butcher, who goes second. Ulas Azurim now down in third. Tom Manley fourth. Rasmussen goes quickest. But here comes the young Welshman, Otis Lawrence, who started the season so brightly after a win back at Brazil. Ron Haar quickest for now. Can Otis Lawrence blast it away? Yes, he can. 2 purple sectors and a decent third as well, but not quite as fast as Thomas Ron Haar in that third sector.
Yeah, 63 thousandths clear at the top, and actually it was Ron Haar by let's just do some maths, about what, 12 thousandths of a second that was quicker in the final sector. So absolute bare margins that we're going to see, and they will get quicker as well, of course, as they go for their second, maybe third runs. One thing I wanted just to keep an eye on though, and a very strange turn of events, because we saw 14 drivers out almost immediately at the start of the session. Dortenzio's decided to go the other way. He remains in the pit lane.
Yeah, he's remained in. Now, is this him saving his best till the absolute last? Is he going to lay down a banker, TK? Because there's going to be instant pressure, isn't there? If you don't necessarily lay one down, a lot of the times for the drivers, it's mindset, isn't it? You've got one lap that you've registered, and it gives you a delta to work with when you look to kick out that faster lap.
Yeah, maybe it's the slight opposite, that maybe they're quietly confident in getting through to Q3.
Well, I mean,
maybe they want to save a set of tyres.
I mean, you're going to be confident after Q1, aren't you? I mean, second place right at the end. I mean, that was phenomenal, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You are probably quietly confident getting your way through. You won't want to waste a fresh set of tyres, because most of these drivers now will probably do 2 runs on a brand new set to get through to Q3. Whereas I wonder if they're going to go for maybe 1 set on used, like drivers have just done here for that banker, and then go through for a second. But, you know, Dortenzio could do 1 on used and then 1 on new.
He could. Obviously, at the moment, sat at the very bottom, yet to register a lap just yet, but still very much in this fight. 15th place behind Duncan Hoffland. Elsewhere, it is Otis Lawrence, your current P1 sitter as it stands, with a 1:14.604. We are talking 63 thousandths between the top 2 at the moment, TK, and it's Ron Haar and Lawrence. Ron Haar also chasing a big result this time too. He's yet to take a race win this campaign, so very rare not to see Ron Haar with a victory under his belt in a PSGL campaign.
Yeah, very strange. And it's something I think we've talked at length over the course of the season, that it's not been the rounds that we were expecting to see from him, because I think he's sometimes his harshest critic, and even he's kind of come off the back of race gone, I should be doing better than that. I was expecting to have a better result, whether that's quali or whether it's the race, and I'm not quite sure how they've managed to go about it, but he's found some form again.
Yeah, certainly has. We welcome back Angelo Dortenzio onto the Melbourne circuit. Looks like he is going to try and get 2 runs in towards the end. Obviously just not choosing to go as early. And you can see the common sense behind it as well, TK. No point in wasting your tyres too early when you've got enough time in the final 10 minutes to register 2 laps. I mean, it's pointless, right?
Absolutely. If you've got the confidence in the car, you're going to be able to go for it. You're not going to waste the tyres, and that gives you somewhat of an upper hand come Q3.
Yeah, obviously it's all about peace of mind and mental comfort. Angelo Dortenzio seemingly not needing any of that after that spectacular start to life in PSGL PCF1 P2 right out of the blocks in Q1. Will be looking to pull together the very same again, this time in Q2. Duncan Hoffland also out on track. Bear in mind, those two are teammates. Interesting how they've operated and decided as a unit almost, though, dare I say, remember, Angelo Dortenzio, Ferrari driver. Whether they are working together, I'm not quite sure. There's got to be an emphasis of that somewhere, but it's just kind of interesting that 2 Aston Martin drivers here right now, not saying that Angelo is one, because he's not, because that's Nicholas Longay. Maybe a little bit of collusion there, TK?
Is it collusion, or is it just working together? It's kind of, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of another. You can call it any name under the sun, but where it stands is probably going to be in the rulebook.
Yeah, well, we now watch with the DRS Open, Angelo Dortenzio making his way down through towards turn 1, kicking off his first run here in Q2. And it'll be the same for Duncan Hoffland when his turn arises as well. Danny Berejnay about to kick off his lap. Alfie Butcher doing the same. A thoroughfare of traffic now funneling their way down through the first sector here at Albert Park. Angelo D'Ortenzio, we'll see how his times compare. He's about to ignite the first sector split, and he's purple already, TK, though he's just lost it to Danny Berejnay.
Yeah, not quite sure how he's going to have to hold this, because of course these are now the confidence laps essentially. They've done the initial runs on the new set of tyres. They're now on new tyres. They'll have to have a lot more feeling in the car. This is where they'll pay dividends for those final sets.
Yeah, coming out of turn 10 now. Another DRS straight, embracing it with that rear wing open. Late on the brakes coming in towards turn 11 and fraternising with the large curbing on the escape, but seemingly dealing with it well. Here comes Angelo D'Ortenzio then. A couple of corners remain here for the young Italian, looking to send himself to the heights of the very top, looking to displace Otis Lawrence, who sits at the top with a 1:14.604. Here comes the PSGL PCF2 champion, and first fastest to kick us off already. We're waiting Berejnay now, who will join him going second fastest, but Angelo still remains on top, or does he? Because in comes Alfie Butcher. He goes fastest this time with a 1:14.197. Can anyone contest with that?
Doesn't look like it at the moment. Nobody's going purple in those sectors. I think we're seeing a couple of minor improvements, but we're at that stage now. Drivers are going to back off somewhat.
Seemingly a nose cone missing on the front end of Ismail Fassi's car. I don't think that's actual damage. That's just a look that we're seeing, a glitch in the game, it seems, as Otis Lawrence goes fastest. A 1:14.166. A wingless Ismail Fassi goes fastest, though, with a 1:14.164. Now, that's obviously a lighter car due to a lack of a nose cone.
I can confirm on my screen I see the full nose cone on that car, but I'm sure the scrutineering team will have something to say about it, especially from your point of view, because as you said, there is a considerable amount of weight in that front wing, a good few grams at least.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we talk about fine margins with concerns to weight reduction in Formula One cars, and if you listen to Lewis Hamilton's interview on the Graham Norton show, he talks about it in great detail, about how they spend the whole season taking parts off the car to make it lighter. They've taken things to new extremes at Ferrari, it seems, and decided, right, we don't need downforce, we're just going to run without a front wing.
Yeah, who knows? Sometimes on the straight line tracks, we see it with, I think it was Red Bull quite infamously a couple of races ago, shaving down, I'm talking real life here, not in game, shaving down that rear wing to give them an extra bit of straight line speed because they just didn't need all the downforce the rear wing was producing.
Well, Ferrari, if you're watching PSGL, I highly recommend you do, because we have found the secret to your hopefully future success. And you never know, we could be seeing Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton winning with such a design in the near future. It certainly works for Ismail Fassi, 1:14.164. Only 2 thousandths though between him and Otis Lawrence right now, TK. Marginally tight between those two.
Absolutely, and Butcher's decided that his 14.197 is enough, so he takes an early shower here in Q2. Almost certain that will be through, but of course lots of drivers still kind of in and under the radar that you probably would be expecting to get through. You know, you've got the likes of Freddie Rasmussen sat in P10, Ron Haar in P9, even Berejnay down in 7th. I wouldn't assume he's safe at this moment in time.
No, not at all. No one's safe right now, really, especially in the bottom 5. Although I will say, I'll say Ismail Fassi's probably safe, as you know, obviously we've just seen him enter that 1:14.164, and Otis Lawrence, Alfie Butcher confirming that fact with their own retirements from the session here and now. Once again, Angelo D'Ortenzio showing some really strong pace with a 1:14.344. Now currently sat in 4th, might choose to go out again just to ensure that he stays in the session. No, I don't think he'll have too much to worry about, TK. He looks comfortable in 4th at the moment.
He absolutely does. He is sat his ground, of course, and we saw this in the chat and the kind of the full explanation as to why. It was he didn't want to go onto the used tyres to get a different feeling on the car. So go out on fresh. It's a situation and a reality that he's aware of. It's a measurable, not a statistic, but a measurable kind of difference in how the car would feel. So he doesn't want to go off one to then go back onto it again. Yeah.
Well, let us know your predictions, everybody. We've seen the first laps ushered in. Only one driver not setting a lap, TK. It was Duncan Offland. He invalidated that last one. That's really going to put him on the back foot.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate sort of state of mind at the moment where he's sat in 15th place. He's got a lot to do, and it is so easy to invalidate here in Australia, though.
Yeah, we know the limits are very fraught. The thresholds are minimum. Turn 1 and Turn 2 are tricky. The realms of success and failure, like we said, thresholds are minor. And now we watch Danny Berejnay make his way through the back straight. Let us know in the live chat. We want to hear from you. Please let us know who your selections are for elimination this time. 5 drivers. I want to see what selections you've come up with. Obviously, at the moment, as it stands, Hofland, Pukki, Zilderim, Linton and Caraton are going to be going out this session. Now, I get the feeling that the likes of Caraton and Zilderim, maybe even Pukki, they've probably got something up their sleeves, TK, as we move into the final laps of the session with 1 minute and 43 to go.
Yeah, almost my expectation. I think Duncan is capable of pulling off those last-minute drives if he so wants to, and it'll be an interesting thing to see if he's able to pull something out the bag. Pukki almost certainly I can see getting through. Caraton, again, another name that I wouldn't expect to go out here in Q2.
No, not at all. Of course, one driver that we did see take pole in the past is Alessio Di Capua, of course, no longer part of the F1 sim racing scene, or the league racing scene anyway, as we now watch Danny Berejnay kick off his final run here in Q2 in a bid to try and bring in yet another big result for the Alpine team. They've had a hard season. Things haven't gone the way they would have thought it would have. They, of course, had better expectations, and I'm sure team boss Nathan Teague was carrying those same expectations as well. It was a big punch in the guts where they were both handed 10-second penalties for breaching the pit lane limiter during the race at Zandvoort, but now looking set to try and turn this around. Berejnay looking to land himself a top 10 time to move through to Q3, and where they'll fight it out for overall pole position. Coming around the left-hander now with DRS open, the rear wing will slam shut as he flies through turns 9 and turns 10, ready to open it once more. Jetting down through towards turn 11. Plenty of other drivers, though, out on laps. It's purple in the middle sector for Ulas Zilderim, almost certainly looking to chase for a better result here. Also, elsewhere improving is, of course, the man in 11th place, Alvaro Caraton, one of the most experienced drivers on the F1 sim racing grid. Danny Berejnay, also one of those as well, was there back at the very start, and now looking to launch himself to the very top. Can't do it. 7th fastest, but where is Ulas Zilderim going to go? Purple in the middle sector, a 16.7 elimination. Certainly looks on hand for Pukki. Ulas Zilderim 4th fastest. Duncan Hofland also looking for a big lap, TK.
He certainly is indeed, comes up towards the line, cross it. It's only 10th fastest. That is absolutely in the danger zone with the drivers that he's got behind him. The likes of Ronhart, Rasmussen, I think that's not going to be enough.
Hold the phone, because Angelo D'Ortenzio is also improving. 2 personal bests in the first 2 sectors from the young man. Ronhart goes quicker than Ismail Fassi. It's Crozen on the bubble. Hofland's gone. Freddie Rasmussen looking for a better lap. He is currently right in the midst of potentially losing out big time here. If he remains where he is, he will be behind Angelo D'Ortenzio, looking to register his final lap of the session. Here comes the young man once more, looking to register himself back on top. 5th fastest, a good improvement, but Rasmussen in the pits. Oh my goodness, doom and gloom for Red Bull as they see both drivers not moving through to Q3. Jan Watmir eliminated in Q1, Rasmussen out in Q2. The team championship leaders both out before Q3.
Wow, that is one that I don't think anybody would expect here this afternoon. As you said, Otmir out in Q1, Rasmussen out in Q2. Berejnay, who was typically one of the best qualifiers at the start of the season, himself and Otis Lawrence, also out in Q2. Caraton's gone, Hofland's gone, Pukki's gone as well. 5 drivers that you typically wouldn't see in that drop zone in Q2.
You're talking 3 drivers that were there right at the very beginning, TK. 3 drivers that are probably the most seasoned professionals you'll ever see, but Thomas Ronhart now at the top, with Red Bull now in seemingly a very difficult spot. Again, it highlights the position that Ferrari are in with Ismail Fassi and Barry Burman. They've got a great chance here at Melbourne.
They certainly do, and they'll be looking to try and capitalise on every inch and every kind of missed opportunity that Red Bull have thrown at them, because they're standing with 2 drivers at a minimum 4 places in front of their lead driver, Rasmussen, who now starts in 13th place. But, you know, should we see a fantastic performance by them in Q3, that gap could be even larger heading into the main race.
I mean, I just want to highlight a comment that Big C's come out with. Obviously, boss at PSGL. Give him his dues, everyone in the live chat. Of course, wonderful performance from Angelo D'Ortenzio. Once again, 5th fastest, and will be marking his first appearance in a PSGL PCF1 qualifying session with a Q3 visit and a fight for pole position. Thomas Ronhart, though, P1 at the end of Q2 ahead of Ismail Fassi, Otis Lawrence 3rd, Barry Burman, Angelo D'Ortenzio, Alfie Butcher, Joris Crozen, Ulas Zilderim, Reese Linton, Tom Manley, obviously managing to get through in 10th place. Say goodbye to Berejnay, Hofland, Rasmussen, Caraton and Pukki. Some big names out of the equation already. And my goodness me, it's going to be a bit of a mystery box heading through into Q3 this time, I get the sense, TK. Obviously, I would imagine Burraman's going to be there, looking to take back-to-back pole positions at Australia. Obviously, Ronha chasing his first win of the season. Angelo D'Ortenzio in Q3, chasing a first pole in his very first start in PCF1 after winning the F2 Championship. And extraordinary. I mean, we've got a fantastic lineup, and not forgetting Alpine with Otis Lawrence. I mean, we've got an unbelievable story, really, to tell in this final session. Of course, 12 minutes to take us through to the checkered flag in Q3.
Yeah, there is so many variables in this qualifying at the moment. I don't think anybody is able to predict which way it's going to be able to go, because there is so many talented drivers in there. And of course, maybe one or two unknowns. Obviously, D'Ortenzio, that is kind of an unknown factor and an unknown quantity in terms of these top 20 drivers that we see week in, week out for PCF1. So whoever's going to get provisional pole position is anybody's guess. I mean, you know, if you're talking statistically, we've seen Lawrence and how well he performs over a singular lap, but Ronha's found some pace here today as well.
Well, just to open things up, Fassi's back out with no front wing again, and it looks like Joris Krozen has decided to copy him as well. So, by and large, the first two drivers to go out on track, no nose cones on either of them for this particular session. Obviously, it worked so well for Fassi earlier on. It seems Joris Krozen wants to a taste of the meta. I'm guessing this is what we're going to see in Q3. No front wings all round.
Well, if one driver's done it and then kind of ended successfully, why not try it out if you're on the other team? It's probably quite easy to rip a nose cone off. It probably takes about 15 seconds, so I'm sure at least a couple of drivers will attempt it.
Well, I can tell you that Ismail Fassi's come into the pit, so wherever he's thought again about it, just say, hey guys, come on, let's not give the game plans away here. Let's put the front wing back on the car. My goodness, here comes Joris Krozen now, and he's already invalidated. You're missing the downforce, Joris. That's the reason. He's gone red already on this very first lap. Joris Krozen with no front wing. No lap will be registered this time. Red already. And Ismail Fassi obviously in the box as well. So already we're bringing a bit of a... It's already come to a quick finale already with the two drivers going out first. So just give you a rundown of those that have made it through the Q3. Joris Krozen, Reese Linton, Tom Manley, Thomas Ronha, Alfie Butcher, Otis Lawrence, Ismail Fassi, Barry Burraman, Angelo D'Ortenzio and Ulas Ozildrim. Of course, Otis Lawrence looking to come back and register his second, or no, dare I say it, his fourth pole position this campaign. Has taken three already, the first of which coming at Brazil. The second one came straight away afterwards at Texas, and then he took one at Zandvoort. And then it all went wrong during the race, where of course he came into the pits at too high a speed. We mentioned it already, and were landed with penalties, as was his teammate Danny Berridge. Now Joris Krozen now about to make his way into the pits, and no question will look to go out again, out onto the track. So we're on board now with Krozen, and already we're seeing Ulas Ozildrim go out. No concerns on his car. He's running a front wing.
Yeah, well, at least for the time being. Of course, they've got an entire lap to get around before they even start their timed run. So it is possible that they have let's just put it this way, the more improvised front wing removal technique.
Yeah, I think obviously there's benefits to it in the very nature that you will have probably better downforce. Obviously, I don't believe that for a second, folks. This is quite obviously a glitch that has been experienced after the new update that was unveiled from EA Sports F1, and it seemingly has backfired in terms of seeing the whole car out on track. But we'll see whether any other drivers are suffering the same affliction. Please let us know as well if you're watching in the chat as well. Please let us know who the pole sitter is going to be. Of course, we'll read them out as well. We want to hear from you as to who you think is going to land the top time come the end of Q3. Of course, we've got 8 minutes still to go until that very fact will be apparent. At the moment, we have got 8 drivers moving out on outlaps at the moment. TK, what are your thoughts? Who do you think we could see up on top?
It's interesting because we've had the history here. We've had Barry go from lights to flag, as you've alluded to before, in one of 2 times he's taken victory. Otis has been a very strong qualifier. Part of me wants to go like the outside bet, like I've done so many times before, and go, you know what? I think Angelo could do it on his first appearance. It's unlikely, but I'm going to back him.
Yeah, well, Angelo D'Ortenzio, could you imagine the scenes? And a few people are agreeing with you here as well, TK, as now Ulas Ozildrim begins his flying lap here at Melbourne. And, coming through the first sector. And threw it nice and clean as well. No invalidation so far for Ulas Azulrim. Angelo D'Ortenzio also kicking start his lap. I'm already seeing comments. Angelo Pole says Mathan Perez already got himself a fan base already. We have got Tom for Pole says Jordan. Where else as well? Keep the comments coming as well, chat. We want to hear from you. Who is taking pole position here at Australia? As we watch Ulas Azulrim come through turn 6 and 7. He'll open up the DRS now shortly before he then thoroughfares his way through towards the fast left and rights of turns 9 and 10. Rear wing open. Jake Benham has been tipped by Nate Garoud. I don't think we're going to be seeing that, to be honest with you, my friend, because he is not in the session, unfortunately for him. An invalidation, though, for Ulas. Ran a little bit wide on the escape of turn 10 there, TK.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but lots of time still left in the locker. 6 minutes and 30 seconds to be precise, so they'll have the opportunity to either kind of back off and go again, or dive into the pits, get a fresh set if they've still got one available, and then go again. But it looks like Ulas is just going to back off, recharge the battery, and try and do it with 6 minutes on the clock.
Well, Otis Lawrence has just gone purple in the middle sector. It's purple in the first sector for Barry Burman. Former pole sitter Angelo D'Ortenzio also marking a red lap, much like Ulas Azulrim, so those two are going to have to go again. Of course, Angelo might pull out a clutch lap. You never know. He's done that a couple of times already for safety, moving through Q1 and Q2. Otis Lawrence chasing dreams of a fourth pole position. Alfie Butcher goes fastest in the immediate. Will we see a 1:13 from Otis? Not quite. Lost a bit of time in that final sector. Thomas Ronhar also coming through as Barry Burman goes third fastest. Not enough. After a decent first sector, it fell apart later in the lap. We now await Thomas Ronhar. Purple in the first sector with a 25.7. It's a 16.8 in the middle sector. That is not as fast as Ishmael Fassi, who's going to be making his way across the line now very soon. Tom Manley only enough for fourth fastest and a few tenths away from Burman, Lawrence and Butcher himself. Here comes Ronhar. Now looking to topple Butcher for the top time. Can't quite do it, but it's enough for second fastest as Fassi. Will he storm to the top? Yes! That no front wing meta works for him again. And first fastest with the first 1:13 of the session.
It's like he's entered a cheat code or something. It's definitely a weight removal. I don't know how he's still finding the grip, but at the moment, the only driver into the 1:13s. Lots of opportunities still, though, as the track does continue to improve. But I think the overcast conditions are going to be messing with some of the drivers somewhat.
Yeah, I think so. And it will present an interesting dynamic moving through into the late session, because if there is a lack of warmth on track, TK, then potentially there's a lack of improvement, but also then if it is too warm on the game, whether it does factor this in, I'm not sure. Obviously the drivers would be better to sort of give us an indicator on this. You can overheat the compound at the same time, so it's interesting. It's an interesting complexion, but we might have just seen the best time of the session from Ishmael Fassi.
I think we certainly will have. Obviously, the track temperature, we can see it on our sort of display panels back in the commentary box that it hasn't changed from Q1. We're still running air temperature 21 degrees, track temperature about 30. But of course, the overcast, I wonder how much it's kind of affecting the drivers hitting their braking markers, because, you know, they're typically running this circuit when it is midday, the sun is shining down on them, so the colours will be somewhat more vibrant. I wonder if they're just kind of mixing in certain braking points, or things are catching their eye in the background when you wouldn't expect them to.
Yeah. Those of you wondering in the chat, no, there is no nose on Ishmael Fassi's car, and no one knows why either. So there we are. I just thought I'd add a little pun there just to entertain you all. Not very funny, I have to be honest, but yeah, still nonetheless. This is quite funny, obviously with the lack of front wings on display for a couple of cars. But it seemingly has worked for Ishmael Fassi, who, with that nose cone, has now found himself fastest now once again in a session. But it's 1:13.994, the only 1:13 we have seen thus far. 76 thousandths clear of Alfie Butcher in second place, and Thomas Ronhart down in third at the same time. We're still waiting for times from Angelo D'Ortenzio and Ulas Azulrim, but nothing really for Angelo to be ashamed of here, TK. First visit to PCF1, and bear in mind the names that we have got on this grid as well. I mean, we could go through them all day, but obviously to come here, there's a huge stigma on this tier. Every driver wants to be in it, and Angelo, off the back of the PSGL F2 Championship, winning the title, beating Jan Halliday by 24 points, has now come in for the very first time and has found himself a Q3 visit. I mean, by and large, whatever happens now, he knows he's on the pace.
Yeah, and surely he's caught the attention of those teams kind of surrounding him, because it is a incredible achievement to not only get through to Q3 in such a competitive field, but to do it at the first time of asking. And also, yes, he hasn't set a run yet. It might not have been the start that he would have wanted to this final qualifying. But how many times have we seen drivers go through with only one lap in the session?
Well, the thing is as well, TK, I mean, we're in a situation where, you know, F1 sim racing is just around the corner. Lots of drivers have already made commitments to drivers. The one team I think that are really going to be searching for drivers is Mercedes, obviously at the moment. And we know they're going through a bit of a pitfall at the moment. No word on commitment as to which drivers they're going to be selecting for the upcoming season. I mean, obviously we're not sure on where Angelo D'Ortenzio's, you know, standing in terms of a contract right now. But, I mean, talk about putting yourself in the shop window for a team like Mercedes, for example. They might turn around and say, well, maybe he's our best shot.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a very similar situation of what we had with Lawrence when he first entered the sport. If I remember correctly, sent out on loan to a different team and had great success there and was essentially kind of jumbled into somewhat of a silly season before he's then signed with Aston Martin. I wouldn't be surprised if Ferrari turned around and go, look, we've got this incredible driver that is driving for us. We've got him signed under our academy program. We'll lend him out to you for the season and for F1 sim racing, just to give him that kind of LAN experience.
Appreciate, obviously, Jonah Martin's clarification on this. Apparently, Angelo is not old enough to compete. But more so, this is just a further stamp on how talented he truly is. So, 1 year short of being able to compete. So, you know, we mentioned that we might have seen the last of the young drivers coming through the rostrum, or should we say the higher tiers with Otis Lawrence. That, by apparent, is not true because Angelo has just blown that away. So credit to him for that. Well done, Angelo D'Ortenzio, at the tender age of 15. As we watch Ulas Azilra making his way around the left-hander out of the DRS zone, soon to meet another one. And green in the first two sectors, as you'd expect after not landing a single time to kick-start the session. We are now into the final 15 seconds of Q3. Coming down in towards the heavy braking zone of turn 11. And then around turn 12, we'll await to see where Ulas can go. It's an invalidation, though, for Angelo, I think. Has he started his lap yet? It's currently showing red on my screen. I don't think it is, actually. Don't worry, folks. No, I think he's okay. Tom Manley, I think, is invalidated, though. I think 2 sectors is showing red his side. Ulas Azilra in fastest straight away, though, with a 1:13 and just about pips Ismail Fassi's time.
Angelo D'Ortenzio will be starting last. He did invalidate, actually, as he was heading through turn 5.
Right.
Just took a little bit. Well, technically you weren't. He invalidated his last run, and it doesn't update the sector until they go across the sector 1 timing line. But immediately after passing that sector line, the next corner he did invalidate.
Oh, okay. Right, yeah. I might have commentators cursed it. As now Barry Burman goes quickest, so more time's coming through, but he might not be there for long. Currently, the man who has gone pole already once before at Australia here in PSGL is looking to go back-to-back. Otis Lawrence ripping that away from him, though, with a 1:13.907. We await now, though, Ismail Fassi, purple in the middle sector, no-nos again, but someone might know that he'll move to the top. No, 4th fastest here for Fassi. He will stay there for now. Thomas Ronhaar into 5th, and we await 2 final drivers to come through. Reese Linton can only go as high as 8th. I believe, yes, 8th fastest for Reese Linton. It's Otis Lawrence. He's GOATIS again. Purple here in Q3, and it's his 4th pole position of the season campaign. Otis Lawrence is fastest by 12 thousandths of a second ahead of Barry Burman. Ulas Azilra with a stunning P3 as well on the second row, and joined by Ismail Fassi. 87,000 separating Ps1 and Ps4, and that blankets the top 4 as well, with just over a 10th behind Joris Krozen, an impressive P5. Thomas Ronhaar down in 6th, Alfie Butcher 7th, Reese Linton in 8th, Tom Manley 9th, Angelo D'Ortenzio, who unfortunately invalidated that run, found himself rooted to the bottom, but no less. Brilliant display from the young man at 15 years of age, coming into qualifying and managing to muster a P10 in his first PSGL PC F1 appearance. Well done him. Obviously now we move into the race, and you never know, opportunities for every single driver on the grid there, TK, but a stunning lap from Otis Lawrence.
Absolutely, and I think it's going to be a hint of confidence heading through towards the main race, and it should be as well, because you start from the front. Statistically, you have the best chance to be able to convert that into the race win that you have. But I think if we look further down the order, it's going to be a bit bittersweet here for Angelo D'Ortenzio. Of course, didn't actually get able to set a lap in Q3, but on the flip side, he made it through to Q3, so he'll have that kind of double state of mind in his head at the moment, going, yes, I've done well, but I could have done so much better.
Yeah, could have easily done so much better. I mean, obviously, every driver admits that after the session. I mean, one can only wonder what Angelo could have pulled off had he had a clear run. I mean, generally from what we saw, around the P5 is where he was largely operating in the main sense. We're just going to quickly join the race session, of course, folks. As you all know, we have the realistic cars, or not the realistic cars, but we have the real liveries for the races. So we will be moving through. We're having a lobby restart while TK obviously sorts that out. Let's just give you a reminder as to the build-up to this particular race, taking a look at the driver standings to kick things off. And I just want to say, first and foremost, big thank you to all of you for joining us. We have got just under 1,500 of you tuning in live to watch us across both YouTube and Twitch right now. So a big thank you to all of you joining us here this evening. This is how the Drivers' Championship standings look. Jarno Watmir on top has broken a century of points this season on 108 after muscling in 3 points last time out. Of course, he managed to break that 100 points barrier back at Qatar, taking his second win, and now sits at the top of the tree ahead of Freddie Rasmussen by 13 points so far. Burremand in third in the championship, 70 points, and then Lawrence in fourth after taking pole now. That points could, well, the points that he could muster come the checkered flag, should he bring it from lights to flag, much like Barry Burremand did back in season 32 and 33. It could yet find him higher and higher and pursuing after Burremand right now. Ulas Azilrim on the second row today, of course, currently 45 points against his name, 1 point ahead of Nicolas Longuet, of course, most recent race winner back at Brazil. Ishmael Fassi in 7th, then comes Alfie Butcher in 8th. Thomas Ronhar 9th with Alvaro Caraton and Ruben Pedreño, the two Williams teammates, 27 points and 24 points between them as well. And Julian Klappenbach in 12th on 24, ahead of Joris Krozen, Danny Berejne, Joni Tormela, Duncan Hoffland, Jake Benham, Josh Edo, and Tom Manley. Istvan Pukki currently rooted to the bottom with Mercedes' only points scored so far this season, rooted down in 20th. Of course, Lucas Blakely is partnered with him this season, but no points have been mustered by Lucas Blakely so far this campaign. Let's take a look at the team's championship race. It is Red Bull in control right now on 203 points ahead of Ferrari right now, and we're talking a mere 95 points between them as it stands, folks. Obviously looking ahead now, Alpine with a great chance to muster in some big points. Also, Danny Berejne, who got eliminated in Q2 in our qualifying session here at Melbourne. Otis Lawrence will be starting on pole position. They have a great chance to take some big points today, Alpine, and need it if they want to pursue and close down Ferrari with only 4 races left to go. Kick Sauber down in 4th on 56, 2 points ahead of Aston Martin. Aston Martin obviously enjoying their time after Nicolas Longuet won back at Sao Paulo last time out. They'll be looking for bigger results once again with Duncan Hoffland and Angelo D'Ortenzio behind the wheel this time. VCarb in 6th on 52, just currently 2 points behind Aston Martin, also with Ulas Azilrim on the second row. Remember, Tom Manley also able to pull off a clinic from time to time, former F1 Esports Challengers champion. Williams down in 7th place with Alvaro Caraton and Ruben Pedreño on 51. Further down then, McLaren in 8th place. Not a position you'd think they would be revolving around it, but remember, Jake Benham has had his own issues as of late, all technical issues, which has meant he has not been able to partake in many PSGL PCF1 rounds this campaign. He is back though tonight alongside Alfie Butcher with Haas down in 9th place in the championship race, 18 points, but still ahead of Mercedes, 14 points clear of Mercedes right now, who've had a really tough season. Pukki the only driver scoring points for Mercedes so far, with only 4 of them to boot so far. It's been a really disappointing campaign for Mercedes. We'll just give you a quick reminder of the season's grid once again. This is how the grid should look between, of course, the start of the season, round 1, through to the final round at Abu Dhabi. Of course, Otis Lawrence, Danny Berejne firmly signed with Alpine. We've got Duncan Hoffland, Nicolas Longuet with Aston Martin, Barry Burremand, Ishmael Fassi, the 2 Ferrari drivers together, Reece Linton, Joris Krozen at Haas, Thomas Ronhar and Julian Klappenbach at Kick Sauber. We have Alvaro Caraton, Ruben Pedreño at Williams, Tom Manley and Ulas Azilrim at RB, and then Jarno Watmir, Frederick Rasmussen at Red Bull, with Istvan Pukki, Lucas Blakely at Mercedes, with Alfie Butcher and Jake Benham at McLaren, I should say. Looking though onwards, tonight's grid, some minor changes. Of course, we mentioned Otis Orange, Danny Berridge, they still remain together tonight. Duncan Offlin, though, with a different teammate, Angelo D'Ortenzio, looking to carry on after a brilliant qualifying display and bring home his first points in PCF1 here tonight in his very first start. Ismail Fassi and Burman, no changes there. No change at Haas or Kick Sauber. Williams, also no change. No change at RB. No change at Red Bull either. One change, though, at Mercedes, with Istvan Pukki now lining up alongside Josh Ido, who steps in place of Lucas Blakely, and McLaren still lining up with Jake Benham and Alfie Butcher as well. The calendar for the campaign, we've already ticked off Brazil, Texas, Britain, Netherlands. We've had the first break week. Japan, China, Belgium, Jeddah, Qatar, break week 2 as well. Back on October 1st, we've kicked off Bahrain and also ticked off, well, we're going to tick off tonight, Australia as well. We're now on the final frontier, everybody, with all breaks concluded. Rounds 11, 12, 13 and 14 to bring you. We are on round 11 this evening. We've got one fantastic race to come here at Melbourne at the same time. And then next up after that, we have Mexico City before the penultimate round at Las Vegas. We remain on the Americas continent before heading to Abu Dhabi then for November 5th for the final round of the championship. Though we could see the championship crowned even before Abu Dhabi. And the way it's going for Red Bull at the moment, you'd certainly firmly expect so, though with the qualifying performances we have seen lately from Jarno Opmeer and, of course, Freddie Rasmussen, there might be a few question marks there. We'll have to wait and see. But ultimately, we have got 4 races to bring you until the very end of the season. And we do appreciate, of course, your time. In the meantime as well, folks, why not check out Sim Racing Setups? Get your pro setups as well from Sim Racing Setups, proud partner of PSGL, a recent new partner of PSGL as well. Unlock extra performance with pro F125 car setups created by drivers in PSGL. Esports and stable setups for every track, quali race and wet setups, optimal race strategies, free meta setup updates created by drivers racing in PSGL with pro support compatible with Xbox, PlayStation and PC. All setups just $49.99. Get them from simracingsetup.com and use code PSGL for a 5% discount. And, of course, we could yet see you racing on track with the top drivers around the scene as well in the not-too-distant future. And we do appreciate your time as well as always, folks. But now, looking ahead to the race, the big question marks obviously lie, TK, as to who is going to take the big W here tonight. Looking at the top of the tree, it's Jarno Opmeer on 2 wins, though no one has surpassed Freddie Rasmussen's number of wins this campaign. 4 wins. Only Red Bull have drivers with more than 1 win this season, and it's both Opmeer and Rasmussen. The rest of them, Burman, Lawrence, Anna Zilderim, Longay, all with 1 win apiece.
Yeah, I think when you look at a team, I don't want to say as dominant as Red Bull because it has been a fantastic season, but there are still opportunities for drivers to come back at it. It has been hard to compare the rest of the field when the majority have gone to either Opmeer or the likes of Rasmussen because it has just been such an incredible season for them.
Yeah, we're coming here to Albert Park. We're here at Melbourne for the Australian Grand Prix. Opened back on the 20th of November, 1953. Over 71 years ago, it closed. Then 5 years later, but reopened back on the 7th of March, 1996. 29 years ago, the same campaign that saw Jacques Villeneuve become Formula One world champion for the one and only time for Williams. The same team that went on to win the title the season before that with Damon Hill. And we're looking forward to seeing who is going to land a big blow in our 3rd visit in PSGL PCF1. We saw Barry Burman win it in our last 2 occasions. First time in season 27 and also back in season 32 and 33. As you can see, we're in the pit lane, in the paddock. Get your predictions in the live chat, folks. We want to hear from you. TK, have you got a thought for us? Who's taking victory here tonight?
I've got many thoughts for you, but I'll save it just for the win prediction. I think it's going to be Ron Hart that's going to come through again. We've seen flashes of greatness from him in previous races. Again, we saw a little bit of good from him in qualifying. I think he's going to be able to dig deep, find what he needs, and potentially capitalise on the others' mistakes today.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that Lunar Echo is saying Otis is going to win. Gary Marsden, good to see you, Gary. Otis win for him as well. Lee Cole saying same as well. He believes it's going to be Otis. Marcel Bestis, George Morgan for the win. Thank you, Maestro. It's not going to happen, though. Ishmael says, Will. You never know. Ishmael Fassi could be a standout here tonight, TK.
I think he certainly could. A very good performance from him that we've seen in qualifying, not only then, but in previous rounds gone by. I think he just needs that little nudge, so to speak, to be able to get himself across the line.
Yeah, Dennis saying Lawrence will make it. Elsewhere, Jarno in the points says not him. Who else we got? We've got Ulas, I hope, says Copper. We've got Ronha, let's get it, says Demo. Please Jarno win, says Paolo. George to win, says Phoenix Silver. Thank you, Phoenix Silver. Jarno, trust me, as well. Hortensio getting a bit of a highlight as well as we now move down to the track. The lights now all lit red. And they go out. It's pedal to the metal. And it's go! Go, 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 go. Great start for Otis Lawrence. He gets off the line very well indeed. And ahead now of Ismail Fassi as the grid looks to sort itself out. Coming through turn one. Brilliant start, though, here so far for the Alpine that leads the way. We got a problem with our timing tower at the moment, folks. Do not be deterred as we now see a big fight brewing between Angelo D'Ortensio and Alvaro Caraton. Jake Benham and Istvan Pukki also manacled together. Our timing tower still not yet sorted out, but it's Otis Lawrence who leads the way, and he's ahead of Ismail Fassi. Here are the starts as they come through the first sector.
Lots of scraps in this opening lap, and it's actually D'Ortensio that's the biggest loser. 3 positions he's lost in the opening few corners, and I wonder how much of that has to do with confidence, because he headed into this, he's got 20 cars surrounding him, and it's just a completely unknown environment he's found himself in here.
Yeah, definitely has been a voyage of discovery here for Angelo D'Ortensio. Now down in 13th place behind Freddie Rasmussen, driving the Aston Martin. The first lap's now underway as Reese Linton has a dynamic look up the inside now, side by side with Thomas Ronha. Of course, 2 teams that are being embraced by RAG. Linton keeping Ronha back, and 7th place in the hands of Reese Linton.
Interesting to keep an eye on the tyres, though. It's a pretty much 66 to 33% split on the grid. Most of them opting for the mediums, the rest going hards. No rain expected, though, so we are going to have a very sunny race here in Albert Park.
Yeah, obviously the timing tower sorting itself out as soon as they came through the first sector. We do apologise, folks, though. I'm not quite sure what happened. Jarno Opmeer on the move already. Past Ruben Pedreño, it seems, and now up into 18th place. Going long on the strategy, TK. Probably the only decision he could make.
Almost certainly. It's a favoured tactic. We've seen it work time and time again, most notably used by Opmeer, who loves that going in a little bit later and running back through the field when the tyres are to his advantage.
Well, as they come down through turn 6 and 7, Fassi now on the tail of Joris Krozen. 2 1/4 tenths between these two. Fassi, of course, very keen to join his teammate Barry Burman at the front end of this field. The top 7 all on the medium tyres as they now come down through towards the left and right of turn 6, or coming through turns 9 and 10, I should say. Rumbling over the curbs, already warnings being issued. 6 warnings going Ismail Fassi's way already, so maybe a double warning there. He's lucky not to receive a penalty, and dare I say 10 warnings in the hands of Jake Benham here. TK is now Fassi at the inside and blast past Joris Krozen and into 4th place.
Are you sure about that number of warnings? I've only got 2 across the entire field on my telemetry.
Well, it says 10 for the 14th place Jake Benham at the moment. Team telemetry must be having a nightmare my side.
I think the game's having a nightmare your side, all in by the sounds of it.
Yeah, maybe. Apologies, everyone. Yeah, we're now watching them make their way down the next straight. Obviously, a lot going on my side. Josh Edo DNFing as well for the session. Dramatic moment for him, TK.
No, I don't think it's been the race that he would have wanted to remember here, and it's the first retirement after only 2 laps of racing. So Mercedes really not having a good outing down under.
Yeah, not great, as Otis Lawrence still leads the way. 7 tenths between the top 2. Still relatively close. It could all change later in the day. Ulas Azilda in 3rd as well, with Ismail Fassi trying to close him down at the same time. Past Joris Krozen already. You look to try and take on the RB at the same time too. Alfie Butcher also looking for an opportunity in his own right, down in 6th place, and McLaren need the points. Jake Benham on his return, currently locked down in 14th place. I won't be looking at the warnings much longer then, folks, because clearly there seems to be some data entry issues with team telemetry my side. I'm not sure why. Whether it's in consequence of the latest update, not quite sure. Obviously, we've had our fair share of glitches already. But as we now look to bring it in to lap 3 of 29. Good start from Otis Lawrence, though, TK. Just holding his own up at the very front, just doing what he needs to do.
Yeah, maintaining the status quo is exactly what he needs to do when you start the race in the lead. He's got 7.5 tenths back to the likes of Barry Burman, who is a seasoned asset here in Australia. He's a known quantity, to put it that way, because he's won both occasions that we've come here in the past. So it will be an interesting dynamic to see how Lawrence and Burman continue to battle, if indeed they do battle at any point during this race, because they'll have the opportunity to probably come together. But pit stops could allude to that, because these 29 laps will absolutely fly by. And don't worry, George, I'll keep you up to date on warnings and penalties as they come through, because I think my side is okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be very useful of you. I mean, obviously we do get to see the penalties on screen when they do occur, but I was alarmed when I saw 10 rock up for Jake Benham. Obviously, generally, you'd expect to see a penalty after the first few get registered in. So when I saw 10, I was like, definitely something wrong here at this point. But lap 4, we are on. 29 to take us to the checkered flag in total, meaning that we have got yet another 20, well, looks to be 20, well, 25 to bring you until the very end. As we now watch Alfie Butcher still perusing after Joris Krozen heading down to the final couple of corners here on this racetrack. Turn 13 and 14 to come. Joris Krozen, who already lost out to Ismail Fassi, is really trying to maintain his position in 5th at the moment. Alfie Butcher, though, looking far the greater danger, and Butcher might want to hedge his bets and potentially go for a move here, because ideally he won't want to have his run disrupted on the medium tyres by Krozen, and ideally stay on the back at the same time of Ismail Fassi. And I think you can just see him swerving all over that rear wing. I think he's almost asking Krozen right now to pick up the pace.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, because of course they're all the medium tyres, everyone all the way down to Ronha in 8th place, and that could become the somewhat sticking point in the Grand Prix, because it'll have the one driver that's on the hards. You've then got to look back to the likes of Tom Manning, Duncan Hoffland, who are both also on the medium tyres, who are going to be somewhat stuck behind the native Dutchman. But until that crossover point, we don't really know how much the tyres are benefiting, because Ronha is keeping up due to, in fact, the 4 DRS zones that we have here.
And this is great for Thomas Ronha, isn't it? Because by the time that strategy rolls around, in Ronha's case, he just needs to stay on the back of Reece Linton. And while he is, he's linked up to the top 6 then also on this grid.
It wouldn't be surprising as to why so many have opted for the hard tyres in the opening stints, because there's so many opportunities to hold on to the cars in front of you, because pretty much 50% of this circuit is a DRS zone. It's nuts when you actually think about it. But when you compare it to somewhere, say like China, that's only got 1 or 2, it's not going to be as beneficial to start on the harder tyres, because you don't have that increased opportunity to get the straight line speed advantage.
It might have been smarter for the rest of the grid that starts on the mediums to join them on the hards as well, and basically undo that strategy choice that everyone in the bottom end has made, really, TK. But like we said, that's hindsight at the end of the day. But Thomas Ronha might have the benefits of that hard tyre selection at the start of the race. When the pit stops roll around, he'll be on the faster compound for the remaining stint. Obviously, that is all to come in the future. We're not quite sure when they'll box just yet, but I would largely imagine we could see them in around about lap 14. TK, what are your thoughts?
It's tough to try and predict here, because obviously halfway point of this race is, as you say, lap 14. So wouldn't make much sense for the medium runners to go much longer past that.
No.
So I think, probably that 13 to 15 is that pit window for the mediums. Unless we see, again, let's not rule this out, that incredible undercut that we've seen in weeks gone by, normally by the Saubers, who then trigger this illustrious chain reaction amongst the entire field.
Well, I remember it cost Ronha some major points, didn't it, back at Jeddah? Really took us all by surprise, the nature of his decision to pit stop that late on. Obviously, we thought perhaps, well, maybe he thinks that he'll be a lot quicker than everyone else later on. We got Dylan Warren in the live chat, believing, obviously, former driver, well, I say former driver, current driver Dylan Warren. I'm sorry about that. 8-9 onwards, says Dylan Warren. He's expecting a pit stop as soon as lap 8, TK.
You know what? I trust him, because he knows what he's talking about 9 times out of 10.
Well, we might have to bring him in as a pundit, because we do value Dylan Warren's data. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, actually, to maybe discuss that in the near future. We'll have a chat, Dylan, later on. Big thank you for weighing in the live chat. Otis Lawrence still leading the way. 4.5 tenths between the top 2 on the grid so far. We've got Ulas Azildarim down in 3rd. 9 tenths off the top as well. It's Alpine, Ferrari, RB currently lined up in your top 3 so far. We've got Ismail Fassi, Joris Kroes and Alfie Butcher who we're currently seeing on screen right now. No movements elsewhere. In terms of places that have been gained and lost, unfortunately, obviously, it wasn't a great start for Angelo D'Ortenzio in his first start. He's been dropped down to 13th. Remember, starting P10 in the race. One of the bigger losers on this roster. Obviously, gains have been made by Jake Benham. Remember, he started P16, moving up into P14, but he's largely disadvantaged being on that medium tyre. He might box sooner than anybody, really.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see that. Obviously, himself and Hoffland both have gained 2 positions, but interestingly enough, obviously, Dortenzio lost those 3 positions on the run down towards the first corner. He's actually held position at the moment, which is rather a good thing for him, because he's found his rhythm again.
Well, heading down into turn 3 now. Burraman all over the back of Otis Lawrence, getting a little bit closer. Just a note, TK, that gap now has shrunk down quite significantly. Otis in the initial, around 7 to 8 tenths ahead of Burraman at the initials beginnings of the race. It's now down to 3 tenths.
Yeah, if you look at their last lap times, it was actually Burraman that was quicker by about a tenth of a second. So obviously over the 8 or so laps we've had, yes, there'll be a little bit of differential between the two of them. There'll be peaks and troughs, so to say. Overall, it looks like Burraman is gaining in and actually gets the move done.
He does, coming around the outside, and I think obviously that's a significant moment in the sense that obviously we knew that Burraman was closing the gap, and now when pit stops are going to be brought into play, that could be a very valuable manoeuvre there on part of Barry Burraman, because it would ultimately give him the lead coming into the pits, and then by consequence you'd think leaving the pits as well.
Absolutely, the little bit of clean air now will be beneficial. We are seeing Lawrence in really early.
Otis in early, here we go. First pit stop's now underway, and it's on lap 8. Dylan Morin, congratulations, you were spot on. Coming into the box now, Otis Lawrence will look to move on to a set of the hard tyres, so he'll be looking for this undercut to really pay off, and he's the only car right now, as far as I can see, yes, the only car that's actually come in.
Interesting call from Alpine. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple of others come in next lap as well, now that we've had at least one, but this will be the test subject, will be the pilot to understand how that clean air is going to run. I wouldn't be surprised if it is running rather well compared to those in the train.
Well, I mean, we know the hard tyres are good race tyres. Let's see if they are just that here at Albert Park. This could be a very major moment here in the race. We're down to 19 runners. Josh Edo, a very early retirement, and therefore no longer taking any part in this one. In fact, bailing out on the very first lap of the race, hence the 0 laps next to his hard tyre compound that you're seeing on our leaderboard classification. But Otis Lawrence now flying through the second sector and making his way down through towards turns 9 and 10, and will enter sector 3 very soon. But Barry Burraman now, does he respond now coming through the final few corners this time? He's just come out of turn 12. TK, you've got an update for us?
No, it was Ulas that completely lost it as he was heading through turn 12. He's gone into the wall. He's lost loads of his front wing. Oh my goodness.
He's had a big moment. Front wing damage clear. Ulas Azildarim having a problem, and he's now in free fall through the field, and he'll lose a lot more than that. He should have probably committed to the pit lane. Maybe he tried to take evasive action, and now Reese Linton in trouble, because now he's going to get caught up, and it could mean forfeiture of the DRS here and going defensive here. Ulas Azildarim, Ron Hart going very aggressive down the inside. Can't quite capitalise, but through goes Reese Linton. He makes the move into 4th, but now Ron Hart in trouble.
I'm really curious as to what's happened to Ulas there. He just lost the rear end coming through turn 12, found the barrier, but it was that moment of panic in the pit lane that he's just dived out, and now he's acting as a mobile blocker for the rest of the track.
I have no idea what Ulas was thinking there. He's made a very crucial mistake, and now being dropped further and further down the grid. Angelo Dortenzio back inside the top 10. Jake Benham in the top 10 now as well. Jarno Opmeer up into 14th. Moving past Ulas Azildarim, Pedreño joining him too. Otis Lawrence, Barry Burraman, Tom Manley, your current net leaders at the moment. And Lawrence, due to that early stop, 1.4 seconds ahead now of Burraman.
Yeah, it's a good overcut, or a good undercut from Lawrence there. Burraman will be not necessarily worried because he knows he's got the pace in the tank and will have it. At the end of the Grand Prix, the 1 lap pressure tyres will pay dividends, but he wants to try and get on the back of the Alpine as quick as he possibly can.
Well, surely now I'm surprised not more drivers have come in that instant response to Otis Lawrence now. Obviously Ishmael Fassi making that change. Now Joris Kroos also doing the same. We're still seeing approximately 5 drivers still out on the 10-lap-old medium tyres. I mean, they can't gamble. There's no safety car, TK.
No, I'm not incredibly sure why they're doing it. 4 kind of makes sense. They're up at the top of the pack. Actually, no, there's 6 out at the moment if we include Ulas Azildarim, who still hasn't pit.
Goodness me. I mean, can you explain that? Still hasn't decided to come in. He's staying out on the medium tyre. Why on earth has Ulas Azildarim not come into the pits?
my only assumption here is he's going to work and try and help his teammate Tom Manley kind of catch back up to the likes of Lawrence and Burman, as they're a little bit ahead of him, but that's my only assumption.
Well, that is bizarre. You would have thought more than ever he would have wanted a box, given the nature of his front wing, and now he's rooted down in 14th place. Real head loss here for Ulas Azildarim, down in P14, and will surely not be a contender at all. I would firmly expect him to be rooted down towards the very back, should this carry on. Thomas Ronhar now coming through the final couple of corners now as we see Alfie Butcher come into the box. Ronhar will carry on though on the hard tyres, no question as to why. He'll look to go the
Lawrence has been spun.
Oh, Lawrence gone.
He tried to go around the outside of Ulas Azildarim, and they've locked tyres, and Lawrence has gone round as a result.
And he's lost places as well, and side by side with Ulas Azildarim. My goodness, and the anger on show here from Otis Lawrence, cascading into the side of Ulas Azildarim. Now, this has cost Otis Lawrence majorly here, and Ulas retiring on track. Once again, on the wrong end, Ulas Azildarim. I mean, listen, we try and defend drivers, we give them the betterment of the doubt. I'm not sure what to say about that, TK.
No, I was watching it unfold as they, Ulas got loose through turns 9 and turns 10, went wide on towards the grass. They then got caught by the likes of Lawrence and Burman into turn 11, was going defensive, was acting as a bit of a blocker, and then Lawrence tries to swoop around the outside of turn 12. They've locked wheels as Ulas ran out wide, and that spun him round.
The thing is, when you're in that position and you know you've not got a front wing and you've got zero downforce, you've decided not to box twice in succession, opting to remain out on the track, you can't do that. You can't interfere with race procedure. And now Otis Lawrence getting hoovered up by everyone else, and Alfie Butcher moving through into 16th now. Otis's race now, by and large, is over in my view.
Yeah, I can't see him being able to keep up. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a little bit of damage to that front wing. Not that we can see anything visually, but he's coming into the box. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a retirement from Lawrence.
Yeah, it might be our second retirement of the session. The two Welsh drivers could yet find themselves out of the race, and yes, that confirms it. Otis Lawrence out of the Australian race here in PSGL PCF1. Thomas Ronhart now remains out in front, and he's 1.4 clear of Danny Berejne, who shares the same tyre compound as he does. Rasmussen down in third, and towards the rear end echelon. Suppose this means now our net race leader, it's Barry Burman. It's worked out beautifully for the Ferraris. 1 and 2 in a net position, both pitted onto fresher hard tyres. Burman only 6.1 away from Ruben Pedreño right now. They've got a great chance here, and Burman with a great chance to make it 3 race wins here at Melbourne. And what would be the only driver to nestle wins here at this track, as now Ismail Fassi, his own teammate, takes the spot off him.
I wonder if there's a bit of DRS stopping going on between the two Ferraris, because Fassi now has the opportunity to drag his teammate along. They can swap again over the 4 courses, because there's only 2 detection points here on this circuit, so they have to be kind of smart with where they make those overtakes. But Joris Krozen not far off the back of Burman at all. Maybe Burman's got a little bit of damage from the earlier encounter.
I just want to ask TK, can you at all explain? I mean, I can't. I mean, you might not be able to either. But is there any explanation that we can put forward to what Ulas Azildarim was doing in that opening stint? And listen, I'm more than happy to give people the benefit of the doubt, but that to me looked very poor in my view.
Yeah, I have very few words to understand what went on there. I think the only explanation I can possibly provide was Ulas was trying to help Tom Manley recover back into what would have been a second chasing train, the likes of Burman, the likes of Lawrence, and it has just gone wrong. I don't know if he understeered or had a bit of grass in his tyres, but when he's locked with Lawrence, but you've got that damage, you're not going anywhere. I think it's going to be impossible for him to defend his action in the stewards' room.
Yeah, well, I think when you're in that position and you're Ulas Azildarim, you've got to give way to the cars that are on track, because you can't interfere with the race that is being run. Obviously, Otis, I think, was involved in another prior incident. You mentioned Tom Manley as well. Obviously, that'll be settled between the stewards. Big thank you to Dylan Warren once again in the live chat. Obviously, we don't see every single angle here on the game, because the spectator cams are the spectator cams. You only see one instance of one moment. So, obviously, we didn't get to see the whole host of it. You saw more of it yourself, TK. Can you just sort of weigh in and just tell us what happened in that instance as Jake Benham comes into the pits?
Yeah, it was just too wide. I think Otis spotted an opportunity to go around the outside of turn 12, that fast right-hander as you get into the third sector. And I think he tried to move across to open up turn 13, and Ulas either by hook or by crook, didn't want to move, didn't want to give that space. And actually, he's come across the nose of UMass's car and gone into a wall pretty much nose first.
Yeah, well, out on track comes Jake Benham, P16. And obviously stopping later than most. Obviously, Joris Krozen now also looking to make moves, and he's wheel-to-wheel with Alfie Butcher, who is also on his own charge right now, and McLaren with a great chance of points because Alfie Butcher net P3 and on the tail of Barry Burremand. And Butcher, who's put in largely some really impressive performances in F1 sim racing in the past. Of course, a winner back at Abu Dhabi in the final race of 2023 and 24. He's now ahead of Joris Krozen and hunting down after Barry Burremand and Ismail Fassi, who still hold on to the lead of the race so far in a net standpoint.
Absolutely. There's still half this race to go. We've had such drama in the opening 15 laps. 4 drivers are out, and I'm hoping that won't be a foreshadowing to what we're going to see in the second half of this race, but leaves the question open. We've still got Andrew Rasmussen out there on medium tyres, but he now does come in pretty much slap bang halfway.
Yeah, here comes Freddie. And the hard tyres now ready. They've left it very late. Obviously now we'll see whether this works out for the Dane, but obviously by and large we'd expect him to drop below maybe even Jake Benham at this point as Duncan Hoffland takes the fastest lap of the race to the 1:17.659. Now comes Rasmussen, rejoins the circuit. Down in P15, does stay ahead of Jake Benham, so hasn't lost a huge amount of time to the extent that Benham takes that P15 away from him, but Benham does have DRS on Rasmussen.
He absolutely does, and this is going to be an interesting situation because Benham could use Rasmussen and work together here, because you see how far off the back of the pack they are. If they work together, yes, it's going to be a little bit kind of inter-team working together, but they've got to get themselves back in the fight.
Yeah, obviously it's 6 tenths now between Burremand and Fassi, and 6 to 7 tenths now between Butcher and Burremand. It's Berejnay now who has the on-track lead of the race so far. We're on lap 16 of 29. Soon enough, we'll see the hard tyres come into the pits. The question is, who will be the first? It could be any time now, really, TK.
Yeah, I think we're expecting, I don't know, hard runners probably around lap 19 to lap 20 as we do see Berejnay in. So I'll take back everything that I just said.
I'll just swiftly put my crystal ball away, TK. Berejnay in the box. Thomas Ronhart will remain out on track. Angelo D'Ortenzio looking to take it a little bit longer as well. But Berejnay the first to jump off the long ran hard tyres that have been on since the start of the race.
Yeah, fairly explanatory. Onto the medium tyres, they'll be able to see them out to the end of the race now, and they will be somewhat fresh. They've got to do about 13 laps on them. Let's not kind of jump to too many conclusions, but it is still well and truly possible. Well, Berejnay having a very uncomfortable run on the escape now in his wheel-to-wheel with Freddie Rasmussen. Rasmussen looking to move through into 14. Jake Benham also part of this squabble as well. Berejnay looking to commit to the one outside the 2 F1 sim racing veterans. Now going wheel-to-wheel. Coming out of turn 4, Rasmussen goes off track, gets squirrely, and Berejnay forces the issue and back through into 14th on that fresher compound of medium tyre. Brilliant run from Danny Berejnay. Bit of change up in the lead as well. Caraton's managed to get past D'Ortenzio, so the Williams really starting to find pace. I think D'Ortenzio's, again, maybe a bit of, not cabin fever, but not necessarily sure how to race. He's used to it in F2, but he's got such a different grid around him at the moment. He may not just have understood how to race everybody quite yet. Yeah, well, Thomas Ronhart still with the race lead at the moment. Obviously, Berejnay boxing, changing tyres, leaving Ronhart out on his own, but now we see a thoroughfare of cars coming in. Ronhart still continuing around, but Caraton bringing himself in along with D'Ortenzio, and also at the same time Istvan Pukki coming into the pits as well. This will be interesting to see where everybody kind of peels out now, especially on the mixed tyre set. We had a little bit of chaos earlier. The race has settled down, at least for the time being. They're going to drop all the way back, even behind the likes of Jake Benham. Really impressive race on part of Duncan Hoffland as well, TK. Currently sat in 9th place, and 2 lap fresher tyres than Joris Krozen. He could be on for a podium here tonight. Yeah, because of course the top 4 are yet to pit, so he's effectively net, what, P5 at the moment. With the fresher tyres, he's got all advantage for him. Yeah, well, you never know. Obviously, if he can make use of it. Linton also on his tail on the same age of tyre. Berejnay, though, only 2.5 seconds back as well, but he's on the fresher compound of medium tyre. More grip on those as Jana Watmere moves past Julian Klaffenbach and into P2. Great move, and that's going to see the 2 champions, the 2 big heads of PC F1 that could come together here if Watmere has the pace to try and catch up to Ronhart. Yeah, obviously now the gap 3.1. Ronhart, the Dutchman in the Sauber against the Dutchman from Red Bull.
Obviously, Jarno Opmeer, now a 3-time F1 sim racing champion, breaking the record set in place by Brendan Lee. Ron Haar now comes into the pits, leaving Opmeer up at the front all by himself.
Absolutely, and this is going to be an interesting, I think, a truth tell for Opmeer as to where Ron Haar comes out, because you'll see him drop rapidly through the order. He's just come out his pit box. The question is he going to come out ahead of Caraton? It's going to be incredibly close on the exit, but I think they will just snag ahead.
Yeah, I think so, just about. But look at the momentum that Alvaro Caraton's carrying coming out of turn 2. Great chance here now for the Spaniard to maybe open the door here for Thomas Ron Haar. Will he use that momentum and dive in late? There was a little look there as well from Angelo D'Ortenzio, looking to make a name for himself here in his first PSGL PCF1 start. Clambering all over the back of the Williams' rear wing, but unable to capitalise. Ron Haar remains in P13. Lap pressure tyres of both Caraton and D'Ortenzio and Pookie, and remains in 13, just behind Benham, but more importantly, 3 seconds between Ron Haar and Benham right now.
I think the interesting thing to look at the time difference, because of course Jarno, Klaffenbach, Pedreño, they were 3 seconds off the back of Ron Haar when he dived into the pits, and of course that will put them out about 3 seconds behind that chasing train, as so it were, when they even come in for their pit stops.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really fast time. Now, I'm not sure whether your data's registering the same as mine, TK, but it was a 1:19.137 from Jarno Opmeer over the last lap, and that's nearly a whole second faster than Klaffenbach. In fact, it is over a second quicker, at least by my data's reckoning. So he's really starting to hammer in the times, and we know that Jarno does like a late stop onto a fresh tyre.
Yeah, and not only was it a second quicker than Klaffenbach, it was actually his personal fastest lap of the race. So Jarno Opmeer is finding time.
Yeah, he is. It was a green lap, and his best lap was recorded indeed of a 1:19.137, 19 laps amassed on that hard compound of tyre. Danny Berejné now 4/10ths back from Freddie Rasmussen as the group up at the front start to formulate. Ismail Fassi now P2 on track as we're seeing it, but net P1 with Burman, his teammate, locked in behind. Ferrari chasing yet another victory. Burman chasing victory number 2 this season. Fassi still waiting for his first. And you never know, it could come today. But will there be Ferrari rules here at the end of this Australian race?
Some Italian interpretation of papaya rules, scarlet rules, I think we'll probably call it going forwards.
Yeah, I think so. I have to at this rate. Obviously, we have got a papaya car in the midst of this. In fact, we got 2. Benham's had a great race too. Currently sat in P10. As it stands, Jarno Opmeer careers round for yet another lap, and it could be 20 laps amassed. I would imagine he'll come in on the next one. No point in staying out on those hard tyres, Jarno.
No, probably the expectation, I think, in chat and what we've seen people kind of dipping in and out, which is very useful, especially when you see them coming in from drivers' chats, was lap 20 to 22 was kind of the expectation. 22 being probably the last time that he would want to pit to have any usable life or any usable advantage, should we say, in the medium tyres before essentially he's gone too far into the race to make the benefit back on fresh tyres. Yeah,
slight flick of the wrist there from Jay Benham. Thought a little bit about to move on Danny Berejné, but thought better against it. Berejné now somewhat disconnected off the back of Rasmussen. Now the gap all of a sudden thrusted out to 3.5 tenths. Doesn't mean to say, though, that he's out of the slipstream. He is getting carried along by Rasmussen at the moment, but Benham's going to need to put a stop to that if he wants to gain places. We're right on board here with Benham. DRS open. And not enough momentum being carried as the rear light flashes on the back of Berejné's car. Just looking to try and save some of that vital energy that the drivers need at opportune moments. DRS open again as they stretch down through towards turn 11. Another look again from Rasmussen on Reese Linton this time. Duncan Hoffland in P6. In between 2 pieces of Haas spread right now with Crozen in P5. 10 laps amassed on his compound of tyre as Jarno Opmeer finally comes into the pits. Last driver to serve a pit stop, and now Ismail Fassi will take the absolute lead of the race.
Yeah, this is going to be an awful drop back from Jarno Opmeer, and of course, well and truly out of the train as we're going to see the likes of Klaffenbach and Pedreño fly past him as he's only halfway down this pit exit.
Yeah, well, this now leaves 7 laps of magic here, folks. Brace yourself. We've seen Jarno do similar things before, but albeit back in season 27, he had the benefit of a safety car to pre-prepare that final last dance on within the final 2 laps to go from the back of the grid to P3. It's going to be a very difficult task this time, not just by the mere fact that we are currently on lap 22 of 29, only 7 laps or so left, and he's got to get through 15 cars to A, get the win, or at the very least, if he wants a podium, going to have to be still a significant number of overtakes. But on top of that, we know the behaviours of this game. The drivers themselves have been very animated on that. The dirty air factor has been very evident, making overtaking very tricky. So they really do need everything behind them in order to do it. As now Fassi makes his way through the right-hander of turn 11, through turn 12. But anything can happen in sim racing, and we've seen it time and time again. And with Jarno Opmeer being a multi-time PSGL champion, we'll see what he can muster. He's done magical things already before, and that's why, as the records stand, he is the highest reigning champion in both PSGL and F1 sim racing. No one stands taller than him in terms of championships, as RP Butcher now sat in P3, but has got a 3-second time penalty here, TK, which will place him below Joris Kroesen and then some.
Yeah, that's going to drop him completely down the order, actually closer to the likes of his teammate Jake Benham, actually all the way down to 10th place. I've been doing some mental maths in my head whilst you've been kind of showing the audience what's been going up at the top of the field. Jarno Opmeer is 11.6 seconds off the back of the lead. We've got about 6 laps to go. He needs to do every single lap about a 1:15 or 1:17, somewhere around those likes, if he wants to try and catch back up.
But he was posting fastest laps, or faster laps, on the hard tyres. He was a second faster than most on the same compound, wasn't he, TK? So I wouldn't write it off as Pedreño now dances past Klaffenbach, coming through turns 9 and 10.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye as we head our way through. The racing is still starting to heat up. Carroton and Benham having a fantastic scrap.
Benham off! A clatter, or certainly a clash together with Carroton, allowing Pedreño through as well. Dortensio capitalises, but Benham into the gravel after contact with Alvaro Carroton, and certainly nothing Benham could do there.
He's peeled into the pit lane, so I assume he must have some sort of damage from that, because he was still in that train.
He was. Yeah, he must have. He must have dropped back. He was inside the top 10. So clearly, maybe some damage earlier on. We'll wait and see. Opmeer, though, 4.2 back. Obviously going late on the stint. He mentioned, though, didn't he, TK, that Australia hasn't necessarily been a great track for him in the past.
No, and it's not been quite a few of the drivers' fondest tracks. Of course, it's had a controversial history in terms of F1 League racing, both in PSGL and further afield, with the likes of the multiple time penalties you get for cutting corners, and probably explains why you got so many warnings on that first lap. So drivers aren't necessarily as prepared to drive it as some of the other traditional tracks that you see in sim racing.
I think we're going to see a few stewards' notes, I think, come the end of this one. Not that we don't get a lot generally, week in, week out, but I look like a very frustrated Jake Benham by the looks of it, coming into the pits, and we're now up to 5 retirements here in this race. Certainly, would you say that by and large driving standards have sort of exacerbated for the worst, TK, since the dirty air factor has come in, as Angelo Dortensio now goes wheel to wheel here with Ruben Pedreño. Fantastic little battle between these two. See Angelo looking to try and move himself into the top 10, but goes very late, coming through turn 13 and opens the door for Klaffenbach. So loses 2 places in 1 sector alone.
I think if you're talking about driving standards issues, the main thing we're seeing is that they're not able to follow through corners as tightly as they were, say, in 24 and 23. So it's had to change up that driving style. But I think in turn it's forced drivers to get somewhat more aggressive into the corners, because none of them want to be stuck behind anymore. Where we traditionally see that slipstream, that train gone lap after lap in PCF1, the likes of what we saw in F1 24, where it was literally about 2/3 of the race in the train, and then all hell broke loose in that final third. We're seeing drivers go a lot earlier now.
Yeah, we are. I mean, obviously the group now are reforming, and we're seeing Thomas Ronhaar now on the back of Freddie Rasmussen as well, and we know that he is not afraid to stick the oar in, but neither is Rasmussen. We've seen these two actually squabble together countless times in the past. Remember F1 sim racing back at Mexico a couple of seasons ago now, but still lives fresh in the memory of many that tuned into that race all those years ago. And now Rasmussen going slightly defensive, but Ronhaar now leaving it late and up the inside of the Great Dane, and it will be wheel to wheel between Rasmussen and Ronhaar again. This time Rasmussen able to keep him back once more. Ronhaar, will he try again? Defensive minded from Rasmussen, contact shared between them, and the aggression once again on show.
It's like GT3 racing again. They are not afraid to go side by side to rub wheels, but we've seen how easy it is to tie a hook and send another car spinning. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends in tears.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It's getting hotter out there, and at the moment, the aggression is paramount. It is certainly very visible. We've seen lots of it. As we head down in towards turn 3, once again, Fassi, Burraman, Butcher, Crozen, Hofland, Linton, Rasmussen, Ronha, Berejne, Karaton. That's your top 10. As we now come through the right-hander before then launching through turn 6 and then turn 7. And then sweeping through turn 8 where DRS will be met once more. Ronha looking to close up once again on the back of Rasmussen. Rasmussen probably sensing the danger. Looking to move up on the back of Reece Linton as a consequence. Jana Watmere has moved past Angelo D'Ortenzio and has now joined the group. Very much part of this train now, but we've got 3 laps left. It might be too little too late here at this stage.
Yeah, you'd almost have to make a move every other corner if you want to try and get anything meaningful from this race, because as we've always said, it's one thing to catch up to the pack and one thing to catch the trails. There's a bit of a move further back as Pedreño ran wide. But you've got to catch and then you've got to pass. Yeah, Klaffenbach and Jana Watmere needing no invitation to get that move done. Moving past Ruben Pedreño. It is now Klaffenbach 12th, Otmere 13th, and they'll now go full send down the long straight. Otmere right in the wheel tracks of Julian Klaffenbach as they head into turn 1. It's Fassi, Burraman and Butcher, your top 3, but remember Butcher does have a penalty. As we watch the battles unfold now in the bottom end, here comes Jana Watmere once more. Klaffenbach going very late on the brakes and very nearly lost it altogether. I tell you what, he went so late, he very nearly went into the back of István Pukki, and Otmere, as a consequence of the Klaffenbach lockup, moves through into 12th and is straight away on the tail of Pukki, chasing those latter points.
I think that was very smart racing from Otmere there. He faked to the inside, then darted to the outside, and actually forced Klaffenbach into what could have been that lockup because he's trying to defend the inside line, not realising Otmere's already switched back and is planning a completely different move.
Well, he might yet find yet another one. Of course, Jana Watmere, former Mercedes driver, now chasing after István Pukki. He's on the tail of the Hungarian right now, and it's wheel to wheel once again, or is it? No, it's not! Oh no! And it's Julian Klaffenbach into the back of Jana Watmere, who then collected Ruben Pedreño as a consequence. Clear wing damage. And oh my goodness me, yet more drama here with 3 laps to go at Australia.
Jano's into the pits, as is Pedreño. Both the drivers will be retiring from this race. I'm almost certain of it. This has been... I have no words. No words.
I mean, laying it all out there right now, this has been arguably one of the worst display of driving standards I think we've seen in PSGL PCF1 for quite some time, I think, TK. I know many people say, you know, certain elements in between individual drivers, but this has been certainly nothing short of appalling in many ways.
No, and we're so frequently talking about the drivers and how they are 20 of the best drivers on this game in the world. And today we've seen nothing short of shambles.
Yeah, no quality on display. We expect better, I think, from a grid of 20 drivers. Many of them go on to race in F1 sim racing. But, you know, you call yourself a professional. At the end of the day, you need to behave professionally. As Angelo D'Ortenzio moves past Julian Klaffenbach, I'm sure there must be some damage on Klaffenbach's car after that. It basically went into the back of Otmere, didn't he? He obviously got the braking point totally wrong.
Yeah, I can't see any damage on his car, so somehow, if he's come out of that scot-free, that is, I think, nothing short of a miracle for Klaffenbach, but it will certainly have repercussions, I believe, coming down from the stewards.
Well, there'll be plenty of stewards' notices. I feel sorry for Kryptonite already, but we'll wait and see. It's going to be a very busy night in the PSGL Discord, and I have no doubt that there's probably high drama in the drivers' chat right now, but we'll wait and see, obviously, to see where this unfolds. Obviously, right now, as we predicted in qualifying, TK, fantastic race on part of Ferrari. They've had a very drama-free race so far.
Yeah, they've kind of stayed out of trouble, and that's sometimes all you need to do in situations like this. You've just got to run your course and hope for the best. And Burraman, at the moment, if he wants to try and overtake Fassi, could be on for a 3-time win.
You never know. It's looking very likely. Of course, Burraman was a pole sitter back in season 32 and 33. May not have been necessarily pole this time, but another victory, number 3 here at Australia, could well be on the cards. But to allow that fact to happen, or that feat to happen, he needs to get past Ismail Fassi. But you never know, this might be Ferrari's way of offering an olive branch to Ismail Fassi to claim his first win of the season. As now Freddie Rasmussen has a moment, and that's another issue for a Red Bull car. Rasmussen rooted to the bottom after a moment coming through turn 11.
Certainly is, indeed. And that's going to be a win for Ismail Fassi. Second on the track for Barry Burman, though.
Yeah, Ismail Fassi, a winner. We got slightly lost in the process of watching everything unfold. It's been a chaotic race, but it's Ismail Fassi, race winner for the first time this season, ahead of Barry Burman. Ferrari dominant here at Melbourne. A 1-2 here for the Scuderia. And further back, it's Joris Krozen who picks up a third place, with Alfie Butcher dropping all the way down to 7th due to the 5-second time penalty. Ferrari sail to the front, a 1-2 in hand, and it will be Ismail Fassi who lifts the winning trophy aloft. Like I said, first win of the campaign, yet another podium going Barry Burman's way. Podium number 5 for the Iranian. It's podium number 2 for Fassi. And now, surely this result alone, TK, bringing those points closer to Red Bull in the team's championship.
Absolutely, especially with, when we saw Jarno Opmeer drop out of the contention, we were kind of like, okay, maybe there's some good points going. And then on the last lap, Freddie Rasmussen retires in the pit lane. So we weren't expecting, or we weren't sure which way that was going to go, but crucial points for the Scuderia here today. 1 and 2, absolutely excellent.
Yeah, no, it was, fantastic battles elsewhere on the circuit. Obviously, folks, I think by and large, I'm not sure whether we're going to get a results screen at the moment. I'm just waiting for it to show. We've got a migrating host situation. I don't think we're even going to see the results here at the moment. But, we won't be able to go through those for you. I can tell you, based on my telemetry, that it is Fassi, Burman and Krozen, basically your podium sitters. And yes, indeed, we're not going to get it. So that's brought an end to that. But if you want to see the results as well, folks, they will be updated in the near future. I think it's only right that someone ought to apologise for what we've just seen. I think that was just quite, in all honesty, it was awful on par of driving standards. My goodness. If this is where we are at the moment, goodness me, TK, the future doesn't look very bright.
No, I think there's a lot that could be said and probably not much that should be said. It's one of those situations where they are such a talented grid on their day, but you have races like this, and I don't think this is the first time we've had races like this that end up where we've had 6-7 drivers DNF in the end, half of it through silly instance that you'd expect to see from, I don't want to make assumptions and hurt people's feelings, but the lower down elements of F1 league racing. It's not the mistakes you'd expect to see from 20 of the world's best.
No, we've had plenty of better drivers, better performances from drivers in the past. We've been part of this championship. I'm disappointed because I'm a passionate league racing guy. I've been part of PSGL now since season 27 on the PC front. And I'm telling you now, if the drivers have a problem with what I'm saying, then I'm shocked, because really they should take accountability in many ways for what they've just seen. Bear in mind, I appreciate this isn't the F1 Sim Racing World Championship, but this is still, by and large, a respectable league that hosts some of the best drivers on the planet. Let's have a bit of accountability. Let's have a little bit of self-respect for the championship, as my camera does. This is just the theme of this evening. My camera's decided to turn off. But still, the message is still the same, TK. What on earth is going on? I think my camera is it's been so bad, my camera's had enough.
I think your PC's had enough tonight, mate, because I'm watching the stream on my PC and you were lagging around and then suddenly you've disappeared from thin air. So if you're just tuning in, folks, George is still here, albeit his camera's decided to not have enough of tonight.
I think I've frozen altogether. Can you hear me, TK?
I can hear you slightly. You're cutting in and out.
My goodness, I don't know what's going on. Apparently the encoder's overloaded, so I'm not quite sure what's happened. I do apologise, everyone, if you can hear me. Everything's coming through fine my end, so I'm not sure what's going on right now. But we are still in the room. But yeah, I'm just trying to obviously digest what we just see. I am back now. I apologise, everyone. To be fair, I just X'd the game, and I think obviously when you X the game like that, it kind of messes around with your PC. I should probably turn it off properly. I apologise, everyone. I'll be honest, folks. I'll be honest, chat. Listen, I know a few of you are saying George looks disappointed. I'll be honest, I am. I am very disappointed because I love doing this every Wednesday, and it's a real shame that, when we dedicate time, every night at 7 p.m. and we want to enjoy it, because I do enjoy it. When you get when you watch us on broadcast, you get absolute honesty from both me and TK. We love what we love what we do, but when we get moments like this where drivers are treating track limits or making moves that quite frankly have no place in league racing or indeed racing as a whole, it just makes it look a bit cheap, if you ask me. So that's it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get anyone in for an interview either this afternoon. I don't think many will want to speak about what just happened. Maybe we will. Maybe the Ferrari boys will want a bit of a celebration, but I think there's certainly a dark cloud over the paddock here this afternoon, and I'm not talking about how the weather was, because it was lovely in Australia.
I don't want to take anything away from Ferrari tonight, though, TK. Because to be honest with you, they weren't part of any of that tonight, and I'll give them credit because it has been a tough season for them. They are in the championship fight for the teams, obviously, albeit it's going to be very tough for them to win it. Obviously, they've taken a big points haul out of Red Bull this evening, because obviously Rasmussen has fallen down the order late in the day. We saw Otmir's retirement. We've got 3 rounds left after this. I'm certainly not suggesting that Ferrari are going to do this, but at least they are taking somewhat of a fight, to the Red Bull team at this stage.
Yeah, I think it's something, again, we kind of mentioned right at the start of the hour, that we are seeing those minor mistakes, the issues start to creep their way in. And I'm not suggesting by any means that today was a fault of Red Bull. It wasn't necessarily they've made the wrong pit strategy. Maybe Jarno went in a little bit too late. But again, we're not team engineers. We have no input on how the pit strategy kind of works out. But it was an unfortunate run that saw both Red Bulls drop down the order so considerably. And Ferrari have just been handed this golden nugget to be able to go through for the rest of the season. It's a lifeline, if you wish, and they've got to pounce on it.
Yeah, obviously the drivers are responsible for what happens out on track, folks. We can only see and visualise what it displays. But I can tell you we have got Barry Burraman joining us here in the live chat. We're going to have a discussion here with Burraman right now. Of course, twice a former winner here at this Albert Park circuit, and he's back again on the podium, albeit second place. Barry, great to have you back. It's been a good, I don't want to say a fantastic season for you guys, because obviously points have gone astray in places, but I think you can rest assured knowing that at least the second half of the season has worked out quite nicely for you and Ishmael so far.
Yeah, first of all, hello to you guys. And start of the season, it was not the best, but obviously, as I explained, some teams have a better start. Some teams, get used to the game, or maybe they know the setups and everything, or they understand the game better than others, and that's why they have, the better start. But then, I think after a break from Suzuka, I'm just super happy with how, as a team, we bounce back, and then generally every week we going. I think it's a 1. We just have the pace strategy always on a really good side. Obviously, sometimes on the hindsight you can say, "Oh, maybe I should have done that." But yeah, I'm really happy to be in this team, and generally, I think just seeing this team getting more ready for F1 Esport, just super happy about it.
Yeah, obviously the preparation very much key. F1 Sim Racing largely only just around the corner, at least we believe anyway. Obviously no announcements officially made yet, folks. But it's been a good race and a perfect race in terms of where Ferrari sits. Obviously, let's kick things off with qualifying, Barry. That was really where I would say largely the race was won for you guys. Obviously, it was very key to ensure that you posted the decent laps. We saw Red Bull eliminated very early on as well. Were you feeling more comfortable heading into the race, sort of knowing that largely strategy-wise you would be in a better position?
Yeah, I think it was an interesting race. I think...
you could say that again.
What happened?
Have you not seen? You probably haven't, have you? Because you've been up at the front where there's no chaos. But I recommend you watch it. Or don't watch it.
No, don't.
No, I will watch it, definitely. But yeah, in the quali, I think we knew the pace is quite good. And then, we were just doing good laps to get through to Q3. And then Q3, obviously, we still, we both did some small mistakes. But in this track, I'm telling you guys, it's one of the hardest track to put a good lap together. It's just so easy to, lose lap time, invalidated. So yeah, we were happy. At the end of the day, it's top 4. You can win a race. You can finish, like we did 1-2. And yeah, I mean, it was a good starting position. And then in the first stint, we planned that I overtake Otis on that lap, which I did. Then yeah, the strategy was going really well, and then Otis started to pit, and then I pitted one lap later, but which was going quite well. And then the Ulash, which is the Red Bull driver or whatever, his wheel apparently he got like wing damage, and for some reason he let everyone pass. And then he decided to wait for us. I don't know. I don't want to comment on that. And then I think he took Otis out, which was interesting. That was the only chaos I saw, which was unbelievable. Like, I don't know what to say. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really want to comment on those things. But yeah, I mean, we got P1, P2, amazing race.
Yeah, I think largely for you it was a great race. TK, I'm going to let you take over and ask the next one.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to talk about, obviously, you were kind of up at the front the entire time. We've mentioned the issues with qualifying and how important it is to get that lap together. Obviously, both yourself and Ishmael started second and fourth, respectively. How are you were you working as a team in that second stint? Was there talk of maybe just getting both cars to the line after what had happened to Red Bull and everyone else behind?
Yeah, I mean, if you're like close like this, it's always a team. And we always, just playing together. Like in Jeddah, we did it. In Spa, we did it. And yeah, I mean, we're usually doing it well as well. I'm happy about it. And yeah, I mean, the moment we get to P1, P2, we exactly know our, like exactly what we have to do. And I think we did it quite well. And yeah, at the end, we brought home P1, P2, which is super important for the team, and yeah, I'm super happy about it.
Yeah, no, I think obviously it was a fantastic result for you, Barry. I think obviously this has provided you with a huge boon of points as well at the same time. You now, as I look at it, obviously bear in mind stewards have to do their usual decision making when the reports come in, but this places you, I believe, on 82 points now. As I'm looking at it, we're talking 13 points behind Freddie Rasmussen, so a chance maybe to enter the top two fold in the Drivers' Championship and also help Ferrari to potentially a better result come the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, since that was a really bad start from my side, I'm just going race by race. I don't really care about the championship. It's just what I do. I just go race by race. I'm just trying to win every race. And if I end up, beating one of the Red Bulls, then that is just cherry on the top, I guess.
Yeah, well, we wish you all the very best. Still plenty of racing to be had. We're going to talk to your comrade now, Ismail Fassi, but thank you, Barry, for joining us. Congratulations on the podium.
Thank you so much, George, and have a good one. Also, GG's to Alfie or Joris as well.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. Thank you so much, Barry. Always a pleasure. Ismail! Indeed comes Ishmael Fassi.
Anyway, good night, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Barry. Thank you. Ishmael, welcome back, and a race winner this season as well. A fantastic display from Ferrari, largely, obviously off the back of all the chaos that was unfolding through the course of the race. Ferrari, really, you guys as a whole were in a much better position, I think, than the rest of the field.
Yeah, very happy again. This time there shouldn't be a penalty coming for me. So I'm pretty much sure that we will keep this 1 and 2. And yeah, since already yesterday, I think we felt like we were really quick around here, and we showed it today. My last Q3 lap wasn't really a good lap, let's say. But yeah, Barry did a fantastic job sitting in P2. I lost the position at the beginning of the race, then got it back, which made my life way easier. And just unlucky with what we saw with Otis in front of me, but yeah, just gave us the win.
Yeah, obviously put you guys in a very prime spot. We were just talking to Barry, funny enough. I know he doesn't look at the championship in great detail, but Barry, as a result of coming second in that last race, is now only 26 points away from the championship lead. Obviously a big, massive amount of points lost here for Red Bull tonight, and you guys have taken pretty much maximum points here this evening, and you are 54 points away from Otmir up at the very top. There's still potential here for a big finish for Ferrari this season.
I mean, I don't really look at the standings, but obviously it's good to finish in PSGL up ahead in the top positions. I think these last 5 races, I would say, 4 or 5 races, we've shown that we are quick, we are coming, and yeah, hopefully we will get better and better.
Well, TK, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, again, congratulations on the race win. And we spoke to Barry just a couple of seconds ago, and obviously it was that team mentality as you were getting to the line at the end. How important was that to have him kind of acting as a second support vehicle behind you on the way to the finish line?
Well, I mean, in the end, it was beneficial for both. For him to save tires, as he had one lap of the tires than me. And good for me, I guess, because I can manage the pace with no problem. And yeah, in the end, last 2 laps, I just they told me to push, and I just went flat out. But yeah, it's really good to. Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's hard to overtake in this game in general, not here, not just in Australia. So, but yeah, it's better to have your teammate behind you than having someone else.
Yeah, well, it was a brilliant performance, obviously, with the 1-2 as well, Ishmael, and obviously your first race win of the season, and like you said, obviously better to have it as opposed to not being tackled with a penalty off the back of the last one. But always great to be back on top, and that puts you now on 2 podiums too. You mentioned, obviously, that you don't look at the standings too much, but does it give you that confidence heading into what we believe to be a soon-to-be coming up another season of F1 sim racing?
Yeah, like I said, in PSGL you always enjoy finishing. It's not about enjoying, it's about confidence. If you know that you can finish up there and you do finish up there, it's just a boost of confidence. There was a podium as well that I missed. It was in China. It was I think somewhere else that I missed another one because of penalties. So, but yeah, I'm still happy with the performances we've shown lately, and hopefully, like I said, we will get better.
You never know. There's always progress, and there's progress certainly there as well. Congratulations, Fassi. You are a race winner for the first time this season. Congratulations.
Thank you. Have a good night.
And you too. Ishmael Fassi, everybody. 1-2 for Ferrari here this evening, and it's a first win of the season for Ishmael Fassi's second podium as well. Ferrari in a great position to carry through another big points haul, and now with just a few rounds to go, TK, it's getting spicy at the head of the field. We'll take a quick look at the calendar. Mexico, Vegas and Abu Dhabi left. We got some corkers left.
We certainly do, and I think 2 tracks that essentially back-to-back benefit themselves on straight line speed. Mexico, that incredibly long run down towards the first corner, and Vegas, as you head onto the boulevard, you are going to be so focused on making sure that car is as quick in a straight line as it can possibly be. Yeah,
obviously heading into Mexico, you mentioned the straight lines. Obviously we do have some plenty of technical zones at the same time. Vegas, the very fast track, plenty of straight line speed. Abu Dhabi also has quite the variety of cornering, but we could yet see the title decided as a whole. I would imagine maybe even earlier. I would imagine Vegas is probably the hot spot. Would you not agree, TK?
I'd certainly say so. I wouldn't be surprised if a few teams maybe gamble with strategy whilst we're there.
Yeah, more than likely will. Obviously, folks, we look forward to the action when it does come, but we do appreciate your time as well. And sorry, largely, you had to watch what you watched. I really can't help but feel disappointed. I'm really struggling, I've got to be honest, TK, with it. But, hey, listen, we'll try and bring this home anyway. I obviously do appreciate every single one of you that tune in. Thank you so much for joining us. Please make sure, if you haven't done so already, to please leave a like and also subscribe to the channel. Check out PSGL, of course, on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at PremierSimGL. If you enjoyed the commentary as well, I hope you enjoyed something, at least, anyway, this evening. Please don't hesitate to check us out. TK, where can they find you, mate?
Well, this weekend you can actually find me at the Sim Racing Expo in Dortmund. I'm heading over for the weekend. So
go see him in person.
Friday to Sunday.
You go see TK in person.
Online, I'm at They Call Me TK on pretty much every single social media as well.
Brilliant stuff. That's where you can find him, folks. You can find me at George Morgan TV on Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, TikTok as well. We really appreciate your time as well, folks. Thank you so much for joining us here. Hopefully better races to come in the near future. Of course, we will be heading to Mexico City later as well. A trip to Abu Dhabi after Vegas as well. Plenty of racing to enjoy. Like I said, we really do appreciate you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the kind comments as well in the live chat. More to come. Champion to be crowned. And it looks like we will be very, very soon. Or will we? Ferrari putting in a late twist in the tail. All of us here now will wish you goodbye. All the very best. See you soon. Goodbye. PSGL is brought to you by Sim Racing Setups. Get your pro setups, unlock extra performance with the Pro F1 25 car setups created by the drivers in PSGL. Esports and stable setups for every track, quali, race and wet setups, optimal race strategies, free meta setup updates, as well as created by drivers racing in PSGL, pro support and compatible with Xbox, PlayStation and PC. All setups just $49.99. Get them from simracingsetup.com and use code PSGL for a 5% discount. See you on track.